accident, one thing leads to another. Your injury leads to treatment. Treatment leads to hospital bills. Bills lead to debt. Debt leads to stress. The advocates can help relieve that stress. Having an advocate attorney on your side leads to faster resolutions, fair outcomes, and a peaceful recovery for you. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show, back and better than ever on Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. Presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. I was sitting in an Uber the other day, going to the airport. Oh, the Uber driver was going on and on about how the neighbor's dog attacked my daughter, doesn't want to pay for the hospital bills, all this nonsense. And I said, hey, did you call a lawyer? You can call a lawyer if you're attacked by somebody's dog? Yes. Call a lawyer. Who's going to pay the medical bills? Who's going to deal with the trauma of your 8-year-old daughter now not wanting to be around dogs? You didn't deserve to get attacked by a dog. Neighbor left the back gate open. Dog attacked your daughter. Call the advocates at theadvocates.com. I'm telling you, you can chat with an injury attorney live online 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime. At the Advocates, the best part is you don't pay a penny unless and until the advocates win your case at theadvocates.com. So you literally have nothing to lose. You're sitting here wondering, hey, do I need a lawyer? Yes. Get to theadvocates.com. All right, a lot going on in the world of sports. Welcome back to the show. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. If you're listening on our audio podcast, wherever you get your audio podcast, come on over to the Monty Show on YouTube. Everybody on X. All of a sudden, Elon, the new political leader of the entire free world, also happens to have the good old X platform. Thank you so much for supporting the show. The show has been an absolute phenomenon on the X platform. Come on over to YouTube. Just search The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show on Google. You'll see our YouTube, our X channel, you name it. We are live. So is Brett Yormark. And how about this story today? I know a lot of you have been looking forward to Big 12 Media Day. I don't think any of us thought it would start like this, with Brett Yormark absolutely coming out of the gates, throwing haymakers. And maybe we shouldn't be surprised, because this really has become Brett Yormark's brand. He's a guy who has told you repeatedly and over again that he is going to advocate for the Big 12 every chance he gets. And I think certainly Big 12 Media Day is that day where the Big 12 Conference gets an exclusive national stage. And Brett Yormark certainly did not waste any time talking about this. I think his desire to go head-to-head with Greg Sankey has never been more clear. And a lot of you called me an idiot when I said, hey, Brett Yormark is going to continue to take big shots at the SEC and the Big Ten over this college football playoff thing. And what do you know? To open the gates at Big 12 Media Day, that's exactly what Brett Yormark did.
They are doing a full audit of the selection process to figure out how they can modernize and contemporize, and how they use data, and how certain metrics can be more heavily weighted. Most importantly, they have a great leader, Mack Rhoades of Baylor. And I have a lot of faith in Mack Rhoades and the work he's doing with the selection committee. So I have a lot of faith in what they're doing. And 5'11" is fair. We want to earn it on the field.
Yeah, 5'11" is fair, he says. You're going to hear more about that in a second. But he's talking about how, hey, there's a big audit of the selection process. It's led by a Big 12 official and Mack Rhoades, and he's going right after Greg Sankey. And I say amen, because as much as I believe that Greg Sankey is the single most important and influential figure in the college football playoff, that should not go without oversight. Everybody needs oversight. And you listen to this conversation that then exploded across college football today, when Brett Yormark said this about the 5-11 format.
5-11 is fair. We want to earn it on the field. It might not be the best solution today for the Big 12, given your comments about AQs. But long term, knowing the progress we're making, the investments we're making, it's the right format for us. And I'm doubling down today on 5-11. And I know Jim Phillips will, and I'm sure some of the other conference commissioners will as well.
Well, I'm sure they will, and this clearly is in response to what Greg Sankey said at the SEC spring meetings. I don't know how you look at it any other way, that Greg Sankey is that guy who, when he talks, everybody listens, and I don't think there's any doubt. You hear what Brett Yormark is saying today. We hearken back to this idea that, hey, listen, I'm Greg Sankey. I want ideas. People need to stop lobbing insults, and they need to come up with tangible plans of action.
I don't need lectures from others about good of the game. I don't lecture others about good of the game. And coordinating press releases about good of the game. Again, okay, you can issue your press statement, but I'm actually looking for ideas to move us forward.
Oh, I love it. See, this is exactly why you hired Brett Yormark. When he comes out and he says, I am all in favor of 5-11, I do not necessarily believe it's the right thing today. I think that's exactly right. Here in 2025, 5-11 is not great for the Big 12 because, frankly, not everybody in this conference is pulling their weight, and not everybody in this conference is doing everything they can do to win games and schedule big games out of conference. But, Jake, I don't think there's any doubt. Brett Yormark, whether it's 5-11 or whether it's auditing the selection process, Brett Yormark is all in on putting the Big 12 in its best position.
Without a doubt. And I think Brett Yormark, since becoming the commissioner of the Big 12, has always, presented himself in that way. And I think that, this measuring contest that we seem to have going on between the Big 10 and the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 is, quite frankly, spearheaded by Brett Yormark and Greg Sankey. And I think that's why when you listen to those clips, you can clearly see the posing, if you will, the stature that the stance these two guys are taking, where, Greg is saying, hey, I want solutions, and people are complaining. And Brett's out here saying, well, hey, Mac Rhodes is trying to lead a committee to figure out how we can best move forward with the selection process. And, within the conference, we're doubling down on 5-11 because we want to earn it on the field, because it's fair, which is a clear reference to, hey, we're not going to be seen to be half as valuable by accepting the 4-4-2-2-1-1 proposed format. And so there's no question that these two are going after each other. And I think what's really interesting is that, every year we head into the football season, and we've always had these conversations about which conference has the most on the line, who's got what to lose. But it seems like this year, Brett Yormark and the Big 12 have more invested, right? We're seeing Brett is taking such a strong stance. You have all these expectations with Joey and Lubbock, and you've got everything going on at BYU, and there's all these stories inside the conference. I just feel like this is one of those seasons for the Big 12 where you can't afford to fumble, if you will. You can't afford to have that season where the conference just frankly doesn't excel and doesn't have multiple bids into the college football playoff, because that honestly is what it's going to take to be able to compete with the SEC and Greg Sankey. We can all sit here and be like, yeah, hey, he's advocating for the Big 12 and, Brett's Mr. Big 12 guy. But the reality is they have to win on the football field for Brett Yormark to be able to make the change that he, I think, wants to make. Because I think he would love to be level with Greg Sankey and be able to negotiate on level terms, but that's just not the case right now.
Yeah, I don't think the Big 12 is in any position to be calling shots in college football. I say the same thing about the Big 10. And everybody always freaks out when I say about the Big 10. I don't see anything that Tony Petitti's done to flex his muscle or to make a real change or make a real difference-making move. Greg Sankey has gotten everything that he's talked about. And so I look at this tweet from Ross Dellinger in a little side press conference, if you will, Brett Yormark talking about how The memorandum of understanding signed by the college football leadership last year does not necessarily grant sole and exclusive power to the Big Ten and the SEC in future formats. And so when I've told you on the show, hey, major college, personnel and athletic departments from multiple universities have told me there is a major schism between the Big Ten and the SEC. I am telling you, Greg Sankey doesn't need the approval or the pat on the back from Tony Petitti. And I look at the struggles of the Big Ten. The Big Ten is a 2-team league that now is a 1-team league until somebody else shows up and shows that they can compete with Ohio State. And with the news that, hey, we're looking at a Michigan penalty coming here in very short order, I was told over the weekend that the Committee on Infractions has made their decision. The document is typed up. They are simply waiting for a window in time where they can release that without it being a major distraction to things like Big 12 Media Day. You really see how the influence of the Big Ten can shrink very quickly. And yet, what do we hear about the SEC? That influence continues to grow. And why is that? Because they continue to win games on the field. And you look at the way that things like this are being said and now blatantly being thrown out there. I think we are a long way. A long way from any kind of consensus about what 2026 and the postseason in 2026 are going to look like. I don't think there is any question that there is as much divide right now as there has ever been in college football. And I think that Greg Sankey, when he talks about strength of schedule, and I will continue to take shots at people like Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State, Utah. You've got to win games. It's no longer acceptable in this day and time with the way that money is doled out in the college football playoff. It is no longer acceptable for the Big 12 to be a 1-team college football playoff league. Don't even show up. Why are you competing? If you are Oklahoma State, why are you competing? We've got Matt Campbell at Iowa State talking about how all of his starters took pay cuts to come back, saying it as though it's some badge of honor. It's not a badge of honor. When we have multiple teams in the Big 12 talking about how coaches are taking pay cuts, players are taking pay cuts, it tells us you're a poverty league. You don't have the money. What did Matt Campbell really say when he said, oh, well, my players took a big pay cut? It tells us you don't have the money to compete with the big boys. But isn't that what we know that the Big 12 is already? This is a league, and I'll continue to say this, where arguably your most important brand at one point a year ago was Oak State, who gave their head coach a pay cut and said it was because they couldn't afford to compete in NIL. How is that possible that now a year later you have Matt Campbell at Iowa State talking about how, oh, my starters took a pay cut to come back, trying to tout his culture being amazing. Your culture's not amazing. Your NIL is fucked. That's what the big storyline there is. It's not that your culture and Ames is amazing. You don't have the money you need to compete. That's what that says. So when we talk about, oh, Brett Yormark wants to compete, he wants to win, he's doing it with two hands tied behind his back because his football coaches and his athletic directors won't do the job financially in NIL to compete and win and put multiple teams in the college football playoff. Because I don't know how any other way to spin that.
Yeah, I don't think there is any other spin on it. And I think as Brett Yormark said, to double down on that, I think this conference really struggles to embrace the modern era of college football. I mean, that's half your problem in the Big 12, in my opinion. You have a bunch of, to generalize it, I guess, a bunch of older guys, a bunch of old heads who have been, leading these universities, who have been, doing collegiate athletics for a long time, who are not really wanting to change. And what's funny to me is we see Texas Tech has all of this NIL activity going on throughout their athletic department. It's not just football anymore. Obviously in the show, we've talked about softball and all their sports. They're spending a lot of money right now in NIL, but somehow, some way, Big 12 fan has found a way to criticize Texas Tech for this kind of behavior. And I don't quite understand it. This is the modern era of college athletics. You have to go out and spend money to get the best talent, to win football games. So then at the end of the year, with whatever sport it is, you can be in the playoff and be revenue generating, whether that's on a small scale in a secondary sport or whether that's in college football. You have to be doing that now. So the idea that we have questions about like as you said, like Gundy's salary, that whole concept, or Matt Campbell, like that's the wrong stance to be taking. The stance should be, hey, like we had to cut money and these guys still came back. I guess that's your best point. Like,
and there's the tweet from Pete Thamel where Matt Campbell says our top 20 guys took a pay cut to come back to Iowa State.
Why is that a good thing?
Why is this something that if you are Matt Campbell, why are you saying this out loud? He's saying it out loud because he was fishing for a way to say, our culture's amazing. Guys want to be in Ames. Guys don't want to be in Ames. What my guess is if it's your top 20 guys, and take Rocco Becht out of it. I mean, I think quarterbacks, any starting P4 quarterback is going to get money thrown their way. Your top 20 guys had better not be taking pay cuts. Period. I don't care what your culture is. I don't care how special your program is. Your top 20 guys better not be taking pay cuts. And if they are, you better not be talking about it. Because if you're saying out loud, our top 20 players took a pay cut, how much damage do you think you just did to your recruiting? How many 5-star guys? Because the other thing that I'll keep telling you, and I know nobody wants to hear it, look at Alabama's recruiting class. Look at, Kalen DeBoer's a bust. He sucks. You can't replace Saban. The guy's got the most 5-star recruits committed over any other program in the country for 2026. That's what you should be touting. Tell me how many 5-star guys you have. Meanwhile, we've got Brett Yormark out here shedding blood, going to battle with Greg Sankey, and you want to tell me your top 20 guys took a pay cut. It's unforgivable, inexcusable, terrible timing. You want to say that at fall camp, I can almost deal with it at fall camp. I don't want to hear it at Big 12 Media Day when you've got a national exclusive on the college football headline.
Well, and isn't this 2 years in a row that we're talking about Media Day with this conference, right? I mean, it's seemingly every year that there's somebody in an athletic department who says something or does something they should not do. Like, I don't know how to say they've made a habit out of it is strong, but I think that it just, like, you'll hear Brett Yormark say a lot of things like, this conference has the most parity. This conference is the deepest in college football, from top to bottom, like, we're really quality. But you can't have it both ways. And that's where I kind of feel bad, because I can appreciate, and I've said many times, Brett Yormark is a phenomenal speaker. The guy can speak for days and is great at delivering a message and doing deals. But how is it that you have head coaches and important people saying negative stuff like that? It should be about making money, not cutting money. It should be about, like, you shouldn't be proud that your players came back because you're a great head coach. Like, is that a selling point on Matt Campbell? Is that what we're doing?
I would also point out, didn't Matt Campbell just get a contract extension? Like, I mean, you look at the juxtaposition on this, and I am just amazed that here we are talking about your players taking a pay cut, and you're making $4 million a year. He did in December. He signed an 8-year extension, and you're talking about your top 20 guys taking a pay cut. I'm amazed by it. Every year, this conference finds a way to put out the wrong message in the media, whether it was a couple of years ago with Ollie Gordon and Mike Gundy. Now it's, we don't have the money to pay NIL, so our top 20 guys took a pay cut. And then Brett Yormark gets on stage and talks about how that memo of understanding isn't necessarily a blank check for the Big Ten and the SEC. And I want a football coach or an athletic director to stand up there in the next day and say, this is the guy that we are led by. and we are behind him 100%. And we're doing everything we can do. Where is Baylor saying that Dave Aranda's the right guy because Dave Aranda's doing everything he can do to win football games? Well, they're never going to say that because he's not, right? He's not. And I want somebody to do whatever it takes to win a football game at a major university of consequence in Texas. And Joey McGuire, it's great you're out here talking about Mike Leach. Shut up and win games, right? Like, that's when I say I want somebody to stand up in the state of Texas, in Waco, in Lubbock, in Fort Worth, and win me big football games. That's what this league needs, man. I'm tired of every year. This really bothered me today, if you can't figure it out. It really bothered me that Matt Campbell would go on the record and say my top 20 guys took a pay cut. I am absolutely stunned that you would say that.
Who does that help? Like, what does that do for you?
Months after Mike Gundy took a pay cut and they said publicly, we can't compete. This is in a league where somebody like Utah has struggled probably more than anybody just to set up an NIL function and an NIL pipeline. This is in the same league where Texas Tech paid $1 million to a softball pitcher. And this is in the same league where Texas Tech just bought a tackle from Texas for $5 million the other day. I'm sitting at Wrigley Field on Friday watching the Cubs game, and I've got 2 UT fans sitting behind me from St. Louis, all pissed off. They don't even know who Joey McGuire is. Don't even know who he is. And they're like, why would you go to Lubbock? And I'm telling these guys, you understand how much money they're spending? Yeah, but it's Lubbock. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It can be Ames, it can be Waco, it can be Lubbock or Salt Lake City or Provo. You put $5 million in front of a high school right tackle, he's going to go there. He's going to go there. But you know where I know he's not going? He's not going to Stillwater. And why is that? Because they're cutting people's salary because they can't afford NIL. He's not going to Ames because he'd have to take a pay cut along with the other 19 guys in the top 20. That's what you can't keep doing. You can't keep doing that.
And expect to compete with the SEC.
And then you start talking about this idea, oh, well, the SEC needs to play 9 games. Okay, cool. Play 9 games. Go to a 5-11, because this is where the 5-11 contest comes in. There's not a roster in this league that can compete with the top of the SEC, the top half of the SEC. Not a roster in this league. And everybody, I saw everybody on Twitter over the weekend talking about how to be nice not to have to talk about Texas. We didn't have to talk about Texas last year. Texas, the Longhorns, one of the best teams in the country that you all held the door open for and helped them put their shit in the moving truck. That Texas team. Remember those guys? Yeah, you'd rather have them in your league than not, because that's a team that's all in to do everything they can do to win every snap of football. And I don't know, honestly, and if you're in the chat and you're a Big 12 fan, I would ask you, what team in the Big 12 can you honestly say is doing everything they can do right now to win every rep of football, whether it's spring practice, off-season workouts, fall camp? What team is that? Because I guarantee you it's not Oak State. I guarantee you it is not now Iowa State. I guarantee you it is not now Baylor.
Yeah, I think there's only 3, really.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, I think it's Tech. I think Tech's doing everything they can do because they've got the financial investment now. Because that's how it works, right? Like once people start spending money on your football program and in NIL, then everyone starts to take it seriously and they do everything that they can do. So, to me, I feel like it's Tech, I feel like it's BYU, and I feel like it's Utah. Those 3, to me, when you look at their situations and the way they're behaving and going about it, to me, sends clear signals that they're doing everything that they can do. I think obviously the BYU situation is a little bit different, losing your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Utah, obviously, tear it down, build it back up in one season kind of deal. So I think they're doing everything they can do. And yes, I trust Kyle Whittingham. to the end of the world. I think the guy's earned that. I think he had one bad year, and everyone wants to crucify the guy. And I'm sitting here saying the guy's been doing it for how long and has done all the right things this offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if they bounce back. And like I said, I think for Tech, you're spending millions upon millions of dollars, not only on football, but in your athletic department. You damn well better win football games.
And Tech is bringing in I think it's Texas Tech, and I think followed secondarily by BYU, because I think BYU got handed a really difficult situation with this Jake Retzlaff story by no doing of their own. We're going to see how deep they are at quarterback. They do not have a quarterback who's got any measurable experience of any kind. And I love that, Kalani today is being asked about who throws the prettiest football. I don't care who throws the prettiest football. Throw me lame ducks as long as it reaches the receiver and he scores a touchdown. Like, that's the level of competition BYU's got a quarterback. And I think BYU and Texas Tech, I really like what Kyle Whittingham's done. I like what he's done this offseason. Having talked to a lot of people up at the U this year about the changes that they've made in athletics, and I think knowing that not a lot of jobs are safe up there if they don't win games in every sport, I think you look at what they're doing in football, I think they're doing everything they can do to win every game they play this year. Outside of that, I don't know. It's certainly not Oklahoma State. It's certainly not Iowa State. I cannot tell you how furious I am about Matt Campbell saying that. It is truly infuriating to me that Matt Campbell would tell, in this case, it would be Pete Thamel. There's the tweet again, not to keep showing you the same thing. This is infuriating to me. You have the national spotlight all to yourself. And your quote is our top 20 guys took a pay cut to come back to Iowa State? As though that's like some badge of honor? Get in the comments section. Am I crazy about this? Like, I feel like I am just losing my mind over this. I am so disappointed in Matt Campbell.
Yeah, I think what's very clear, when we compare the Big 12 and the SEC, you would never hear an SEC head coach say this. I don't think, unless I've just missed it. I can't, I haven't heard an SEC official or head coach talk about how, they had to cut salary. Now, have they talked about investment? Have they talked about, it takes more money right now? Have you heard that kind of comment? Yes. But I haven't heard, Big Ten SEC guy, be like, oh yeah, we had to cut a bunch of money in order for our kids to come back. And, they only came back because of our coaching staff continuity and because I'm a great head coach.
It's shocking, man.
Yeah. Like it's a crazy, almost, I feel crazy saying it, but it's basically a departure from the messaging of the rest of the conference. If you listen to Brett Yormark, you listen to what Joey's out here talking about how he wants to play LSU in the Big Ten more. Joey's talking about how he wants those big games.
He may not have won many games here recently, but the guy's at least saying and doing the right things.
Yeah. So I give the guy credit. I agree he hasn't won enough games, but this year is that year. This is every athlete and every football program has that year where it's okay, this is the year where if you're going to be that guy, it's got to happen. And that's this year for Joey.
Can you imagine On3 putting out a tweet like this about Iowa State, Oklahoma State? The Crimson Tide have 5-star commits. The most 5-star committed in 2026. That it's redonkulous. And people are like, oh, it's Alabama. What do you expect? Well, you can't have that and say that, well, he's terrible. What a bust. There's no way he can replace Nick Saban. Apparently there is a way. And this is it right here. And I guarantee you none of these guys are taking a pay cut. I guarantee you none of those dudes right there are taking a pay cut.
Mm-hmm.
And what Kalen DeBoer's done in Alabama, and I agree with you, Joey, what Joey's done at Tech, nothing short of miraculous. What Kyle Whittingham did with Beck and bringing Dampier in, nothing short of miraculous.
And remember what last year was, right? Last year was a bad year for Alabama, right? Like last year was, hey, we didn't make the CFP. It was a bad year. And what do we have here, right? More preseason tweets about most 5-star recruits and the program's cooking and, everything's heading the right direction. Do you notice that? Do you see what we're trying to say here? Like everything in the SEC, and I would say this is mostly unique to the SEC because in the Big Ten, I really only see it with like Ohio State, and occasionally you'll see it with Oregon. It's very rare that you see it with like Penn State. Obviously, Michigan's going through it, but before that, sometimes you'd see it with Michigan. So this is really in the Big Ten and Ohio State thing. But dude, in the SEC, you see this all the time. Like Texas, Bama, LSU, when they had the Joe Burrow squad, like there's always a team that's pushing, a bunch of 5-star recruits and everything's amazing. And what do you not hear about? Well, you don't hear about, oh my God, man, we're a little short on money. So, we had to go and, talk to our donors. You don't hear about that. All you hear about is our roster's loaded. We're going to the college football playoff this year, whether you like it or not.
And who else did you hear that from this holiday weekend? Yeah, how about the USC Trojans?
Yeah, another great example.
Right? They're out here doing bro. If Lincoln Riley doesn't win now, I don't even know what you say.
But see, that's a really good example of this concept. Because remember the title of the show today, right? The Big 12 goes to war with the SEC.
Yeah.
The Big 12 struggles with the idea as a conference that it can't just be the top 3 schools. It can't just be, in this year's case, the projected top schools of Tech and, throw Utah in there if you want to. Whoever
nobody
you like.
wants to.
ASU, nobody wants to. ASU, like, okay,
Kenny
cool.
Dillingham having a lighthearted, fun song thing or whatever that was today.
Yeah.
This conference has so much potential, and I just continue to sit here and say I don't understand why Matt Campbell is talking about how his top 20 guys took a pay cut. And if anybody wants to explain it to me, please do, because I would love to understand it. And I just
don't think it's hard. Like, it's not hard to avoid saying, hey, our top 20 guys took a pay cut. What you could have said was, hey, yeah, we had a lot of returning players to our roster. We've got great continuity on our coaching staff. We expect big things out of our football program again this year. Obviously, we grinded down the stretch last year and it just didn't quite work out for us. But this year we fully expect, Rocco and the boys to replicate and do it again. But no, you decided to go out of your way with one of the top national writers, Pete Thamel and ESPN, to say that. And that's why I'm with you on this. It's a clear choice.
Yeah.
The guy thought to himself, hey, this is a good idea for me to say this, or maybe he didn't say it was a good idea. Maybe he was like, hey, I feel it's necessary to point this out at Media Day.
Exactly.
So if Matt Campbell and his guys at Iowa State can't get on the same page, like, that's a them problem. But this conference can't continue to suffer the Matt Campbell isms that seemingly it has for the last several seasons.
Well, it's not suffering. It's not suffering in Lubbock because, as I told you, and
again,
I mean, you just took a tackle from, and I believe my eyes are not deceiving me when Hayes Fawcett says that Felix Ojo could have gone to Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, or Florida. And he chose Texas Tech. That's what this conference needs more of. And I think your point about, Texas Tech is just buying their roster. Okay. And your point is what?
Because where do we hear that? And this is my big problem right now. Because of the way the calendar works, right? Like, obviously, we're not in football season right now, right? We've been, basketball season ended, then you had stick and ball season, that came to an end. So what do we hear? Oh, well, Texas Tech is buying all these kids in like softball and
can you believe this?
And lacrosse and like all these different sports. Can you believe this? This is ridiculous. This is not college athletics. In fact, sir, it is college athletics. If
yes,
you are not out. Like, one of the things that upset me so much, this was like a month ago that I heard this from someone in my circle say to me, hey, dude, they're back channeling through their relationships to find these kids before it goes public, and like basically insinuating that there was nefarious activity happening. And all I have to say is, dude, no cop, no stop. If you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you can work that network to get in contact with a kid, and you can say, hey, buddy that wants to go to Texas or Ohio State, here's $4 million more dollars.
But what do you think Jake Retzlaff's doing right now?
Yeah, right?
Do you think Jake Retzlaff is working relationships and back channeling and talking to...
Like, come on.
He's not in the transfer portal yet officially, right? I think we all agree, and from essentially what Kalani said today was, that he's going to be making an announcement. Here's Kalani talking about, and do I put the two words together and piss everybody? Here's Kalani essentially talking about life at BYU and
expectations.
And well, I don't want to say the words honor code because so many people have just no idea what the honor code is and no idea of why there was no injustice by BYU against Jake Retzlaff. Here's BYU head coach Kalani Sitake.
University is, we're sponsored and affiliated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So there's a level of expectation, a standard that we ask our student athletes and our students all together to live by. Every school has their standards. We have ours too, our expectations. We have an academic expectation as well. So if young people don't fit the academic criteria, then they don't get in school. So these are just part of the things that you have to be committed to, and we expect our students to live according to what they signed up for.
Notice he didn't say our football players. Notice he didn't say
right?
Our students, because I'll continue to say this about BYU this year. BYU isn't out avoiding the Jake Retzlaff conversation. BYU is out talking actively to recruits about the honor code and Jake Retzlaff, because that's life at BYU. Nothing happens until we know it happened. Jake Retzlaff didn't have consensual sex, allegedly, with that woman until it came out in a lawsuit. And if it had never come out in a lawsuit, he'd have never had sex with that woman, allegedly, at his off-campus apartment.
Because that's the truth. The honor code's not the problem, bro.
That's life. When you go to BYU, they hand you the document, you read it after the recruiting process, in which you talked about it multiple times with your lead recruiting contact, your football and your position coaches. This is not something BYU runs from. This is not a secret that's just all of a sudden dropped on a kid. Somebody is making the argument with me on Twitter over the weekend that, oh, well, this was just a PR stunt, so here comes the honor code. No, dude, you're from Florida, so I don't expect you to get it.
Florida man.
The honor code at BYU is not some secret hidden document that nobody's able to read as though it's the ACC ESPN contract. No, friends, it's out in the open. It's recruited. It's a recruiting tool. BYU talks to parents and kids about it almost from the jump, because BYU is not for everybody. There's just no question about that. BYU's not recruiting the same people that Texas Tech or Ohio State or USC is recruiting.
Because what did he say there? Right? What did he also include? It's about academics too. Like,
BYU is not an easy institution to go to school at.
They don't want it to be for everybody.
That's right.
And I feel like people won't accept that about BYU. It's, dude, right at the end, it was the most important thing. We expect our student athletes to live a certain lifestyle that they agreed to when they signed the document. Like, you can't say it any more plainly than that. That is the agreement. So for all of you people who are like, oh, the honor code was he got done dirty by the honor code. No, dude, he did himself dirty. He put himself in a bad situation.
We all make choices.
Yeah.
Right? And I talk about this all the time. We all want rules and laws until they need to be applied to us. And we all want rules and laws until they're the consequences of our poor choices. And there is no question. And I am not degrading Jake Retzlaff. I don't know what happened in that apartment, But I do know one thing. Jake Retzlaff made poor choices because he wound up in the middle of a jackpot when this gal filed a civil lawsuit. Did they settle out? I don't actually believe. I've talked to a bunch of people in law about this. I actually think that there was no settlement. In my opinion, I don't believe he paid her a settlement. I think the text messages and the overwhelming amount of evidence that was unearthed through the police department, and I think it was very clear, in my opinion, it was very clear what had happened there. And I think this girl who filed this civil suit, Jane Doe, I think her and her attorneys quickly figured out that if this went in front of a judge, it was probably not going to end well. And Jake Retzlaff was not just going to roll over and die. And now Jake Retzlaff is going to wind up at another university, which we're going to talk about in a minute, playing football. And he's going to be far worse for wear. This cost him a ton of money. I guarantee you this cost him draft slot potential in the NFL. But Jake Retzlaff came out of this as well as he could have. He's not whole. He will forever be scarred by this. But he came out as well as he could have. And my guess is, my opinion is, there was no settlement. I think they mutually withdrew this case with prejudice so it can never be refiled, remind you, because the evidence did the talking. So it is what it is. But my point is, at BYU, when you hear Kalani Sitake, did he avoid that question today? Well, I can't really talk about it. No, he did not. He said Jake's going to release his own statement, and I'm not going to get into the details of that. I'm going to let Jake talk for himself. But as far as the honor code goes at BYU, we're in we're run by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we're going to do this, and we have this, and it's tough to be a student here. BYU's not for everybody, but when you are at BYU, like, he did exactly what you need the head coach. No, he did exactly what you needed him to do as a head coach at BYU. So there's that. All right. Now the juices are flowing. All the pent-up energy is out. Your thoughts on all of this? Glad Slacker, first in, a member for 21 months on the Monty Show. Monty, thoughts on the Mountain West voting to admit GCU this year and the Boise State AD threatening litigation over it? The Boise State AD can threaten litigation over it all he wants. I don't have thoughts on it because I've been telling you that for 3-4 months now since it was announced.
How long?
That there was no reason not to admit GCU. You look at their WAC WCC situation. Let Boise State file a lawsuit. Go spend more of your own money. Go. All Boise State filing a lawsuit does is damage the Pac-12, which is why my guess is they're not going to do that. GCU entering the Mountain West this year is not of consequence to the Pac-12. And in my opinion, I think it is exactly the right move, mainly because I've told you I thought it was going to happen. Because it makes too much sense. GCU is an absolute basketball juggernaut who needs opportunities and finances to build a program. And without opportunity and finance, they're still an NCAA tournament team. So now you put them in the Mountain West, and what do they become? An NCAA tournament team. And why does that piss off people like Boise? Because that means more tournament shares and more financial windfall for the Mountain West. Because remember, nobody's leaving the Mountain West this coming basketball season. That's a year from now. So if you are a Mountain West basketball team right now, you're trying to make the NCAA tournament. There's no doubt about that. And what happens with those tournament shares? Does Boise get to take those tournament shares with them? No, it stays with the conference. So Boise can shake its tail feather, but this is exactly the right move to make.
Totally agree.
There's no doubt. The eye patch. I guess this is an editorial for the TDS honor code. It's not an editorial for the TDS honor code. And you don't have to like it, but the fact of the matter is a girl who I believe was loyal to the Utah football program tried to torpedo Jake Retzlaff and BYU football, in my opinion. So I hope you're proud of that, because I think it's absolutely disgusting. This is not the NFL. This is not Trevor Bauer in Major League Baseball. And if you're a Utah fan who's happy and celebrating what Jake Retzlaff and BYU went through, you're disgusting. Because no man should go through what Jake Retzlaff went through, in my opinion. Now, had he been found guilty, or had there been a criminal component to this other than, hey, Jane Doe, we'd be having a different conversation. Funny thing is, there was no actionable evidence according to the police department. She didn't say anything. According to Jake's filing in court, they had amicable, lighthearted text messages or messages back and forth through February of the following year. This alleged heinous sexual assault happened on Thanksgiving 2023. They were messaging each other through February of 2024. It's hard to say this doesn't. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. If my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle, bro. Like, what are we doing? Right? Like,
why does it piss you guys off so much? The honor code is very straightforward.
The thing that I don't understand, and what really bothers me, is Utah fan is always cheering for people to be damaged or in pain or suffer. And it's reprehensible. It is absolutely disgusting to me that you would celebrate and root for another man to allegedly have been falsely accused of rape. Do you know how damaging that is to this guy for the rest of his life? Like, your little football game that nobody really cares about outside of this state is meaningless when it comes to a guy losing his good name and reputation for the rest of his life on something he didn't do, allegedly. So, Patch, I hope you're thrilled with your lack of morals and humanity. Because when you make comments like editorial for TDS honor code, you tell me who you are. And trust me, when you tell me who you are, I believe you. Wholeheartedly, all in, I believe you that that's who you are. Brandon Butler, you don't go to Notre Dame unless you got good grades and you are willing to go to Mass. Dude, it is the exact same situation.
But that's the shame of it, isn't it? He is a good student, and he was willing to do what he needed to do.
Not only was Jake Retzlaff a good student, he already graduated. So he is able to transfer without pause. Because, I know it's just TDS down south, right? And it's, the honor code. Get out of here. It's so ridiculous.
It's just a dumb take, dude.
The choices you make dictate the life you lead. And Jake Retzlaff made some very questionable choices here, in my opinion.
But I also think just the same way you feel about that situation, I feel like NFL officials and people who are on the outside looking in, who maybe don't, have all the information people on the inside do, probably feel the same way. I mean, it's hard not to feel that way based on kind of how it went down. Like, yeah. And so I think that, because again, Jake's been on the show, and in the time we've had the opportunity to talk to him, like, he's a good speaker. He's always seemed like a reasonable guy to me. Now, like, obviously we can't factually speak to it, but if you're just talking about reputation, right? Like what someone's market value is based on sentiment, I will be genuinely curious to see how the NFL receives him, because they will receive him. I do think he will get drafted. He's not a day one guy, certainly, but he will get drafted. And I'll be really interested to see where he goes, because I this particular thing, if you think about the NFL, they've had so many of these quarterbacks do dumb stuff situations.
Yes.
That this, crazy enough, this is really not that bad when you compare it to the Deshaun Watson thing or whoever you want to look at. Like, it's just, by NFL standards, it's just not as big a deal. So I still think he's going to be fine, but I would agree with you that you're not the same as you were before. That's the problem.
And in life, because football doesn't matter, and I will continue to say this over and over and over and over again, football doesn't matter. In life, Jake Retzlaff will forever be known as the guy in that civil suit. And we don't know what happened in that apartment. And I continue to maintain, could everything this girl have said happen? Probably not, because if it would have happened that way, in my opinion, it would have been a criminal matter. I was trying to explain to somebody I didn't leave because I wanted to charge my phone argument today. I was trying to explain that to somebody, and she said to me, I'm out. I would have left my phone behind. And this person said exactly what I said. I'd have walked out that door. Excuse me. I would have sprinted out that door and pounded on every neighbor's door in that apartment area because I was just choked out and physically beaten by a much larger human being. But instead, you stayed to charge your phone. And then you exchanged amicable, lighthearted text messages with who you're making an assaulter for another 3 months. It makes it hard to believe. It makes it hard to believe. And then you have idiots at Utah rooting against him. It's wild to me. I'll never understand it. I will never, ever understand it. The Natural says, hit the like button. People, 29 is nasty work. Yes, please hit the like button. And again, if you're on X, if you're one of the 400 people watching on X, make sure you come over to YouTube, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show. Pirate Mitch, if I'm an opponent of BYU, I'm throwing parties and inviting all of them on a away game, cameras out. It doesn't work like that. BYU is locked down the night before games. It is a business trip. They travel generally late Thursday or early Friday. They are in the hotel. They are doing their meetings and their walkthroughs, and they are doing their prayer sessions. They're doing their study halls, and they are on bed check. And they have roommates. Bro. No, they have roommates, and they have accountability. You don't go to parties on the road. It does not work like that. I think the Mormons regretted a young Jew being the poster boy for BYU. Not really. No, I don't think they regretted it at all.
Yeah, I don't even think that was really, with all due respect, man, I really don't even think that was a thing. As a matter of fact, I know that people celebrated that about him, that he,
yes,
he had the Manischewitz deal, and the BYU brand was strong for him, and I remember this past season, if you watch BYU games, there were all kinds of signs and posters and all types of stuff.
The desire to be a melting pot that BYU has, that a young Jewish guy who was almost inarguably the best junior college transfer in football that year, chose BYU, was a feather in their cap. I think they were celebrating that melting pot, and that somebody of the Jewish faith could fit in so easily and seamlessly without provocation, no waves, glassy, smooth water at BYU, I think was great until it wasn't. Mike Smith, it's funny when fans and media complain about coaches giving generic answers. This is why coaches give generic answers, because they get roasted for being honest. I think it's all very circumstantial. If you go into a situation like Mike Gundy and you say, who hasn't done that 1,000 times, you're an idiot. And you probably shouldn't be talking to the media. What a great weekend to be at Wrigley. Absolute destruction of the Cards. Dude, it was hot. There were significant weather. Saturday was so hot, I stayed like an inning and a half. It was unbearable that you're sitting still and our clothes were soaked through in sweat. We went across the street to a bar and had something to eat, sat in the air conditioning and watched the game, because it was literally, you guys, unbearable heat and humidity. Middle 90s with just pure humidity. It was really, really bad. Really, really bad. And it was funny. It's a huge game Saturday against the Cardinals, and there were a ton of empty seats because of how hot it was. It was unbelievable. Let's see. Who else? Dirty Utah Cooter trying to torpedo Jake. Yeah, who knew?
Right.
Delaric, here's the deal. A lot of schools have an honor code that the students have to sign. Not all like the BYU one, but there are others out there. Oh, there's a ton of them out there.
Certainly.
The difference with with other people in their code of conducts. The difference at BYU is football is inconsequential when it comes to the tenets of the LDS church, when it comes to living a chaste lifestyle, when it comes to alcohol, tobacco, porn, sex, living a virtuous life is non-negotiable at BYU. If you are at another school with a code of conduct and, well, it was how, and the best example is that was just a little weed. Just a little weed doesn't matter at BYU. It was weed or it wasn't weed, and that's not a virtuous lifestyle. You're out. Period. Reports say Jake would have gotten a 7-game suspension because he admitted in his court filing that he had consensual sex with this girl. Is what it is. You knew what you signed up for. You knew what you signed up for, right? If all parties agree the case can never be refiled and a judge signs off on it, then guess what? There was never a provable case against Retzlaff. Probably. The likelihood is, in my opinion, that no settlement was paid. It's at that with prejudice and a judge's seal of approval. Let that sink in. With prejudice can never be refiled. It's
tough.
That's tough. That is tough. Just for the record, this Utah hussy was not part of the Lot Lizard Union. Thanks for looking that up. Boyd Lake, I just hope all parties find what they want. Hopefully at least one QB in the room is ready for BYU. And that, I think, is a huge issue because I also love all the idiot Utah fans who are like, Retzlaff sucked anyways. Well, if he sucked anyways, why are you celebrating that he was accused of sexual assault and that he's not at BYU anymore? Oh, never thought about that. Oh, yeah, he sucks so bad. What are they, 11-2 or whatever?
Right.
Oh, he sucks
Terrible.
so bad. Right? Can't have it both ways. Cannot have it both ways. Mike Smith, NFL will not care about college kid having sex. Either he is good enough to play on the team or not. And certainly now with the court case being kicked, this goes to the question of where does Jake Retzlaff end up?
Mm-hmm.
Because Jake has not officially entered the transfer portal, at least not as at the beginning of the show. And so the question is, where does Jake Retzlaff realistically transfer for this season? Everybody is talking about Tennessee. Makes total sense. Tennessee does not have a proven starter. They have a system that fits Jake Retzlaff really well. But here are the hurdles for Jake Retzlaff. Learning an offense is not a hurdle. Commanding an offense in a matter of weeks is a hurdle.
And he knows that firsthand.
Yeah, he will, no matter where Jake Retzlaff goes, he will not have command of the offense or its language this season.
And it makes you wonder, just in terms of the process, like from everything we can tell, he's not officially in the portal yet, but, obviously it goes without saying that I'm sure he's having some conversations and figuring out what his next stop is going to be. So, it'll just be interesting to see, where he goes. But if you zoom out a little bit and take Tennessee out of it, I agree, it makes perfect sense. But if you take Tennessee out of it and you just say, hey, this is a kid that needs a 1-year stop to launch himself high up the draft boards in the NFL, it's the Big Ten or the SEC. Those are the only 2 stops. And whether that's Tennessee, whether, he finagles his way into, the Will Howards of the world, Ohio State, Oregon, like he needs to go to one of those programs where he can go in, they'll cater it to him for a year. You go out and compete at a really high level and he does what he needs to do.
Notre Dame is the other one that everybody talks about. I was talking to a major college football guy today who said he thinks he's going to Notre Dame. I just don't know how that flies with the admissions folks at Notre Dame. Now, obviously, Jake, if you have the grades at BYU, you can pretty much get by anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The lifestyle at Notre Dame is not as rigid as it is at BYU, but you're going to mass at Notre Dame. You are expected to live a lifestyle at Notre Dame, whether you are Catholic or not. You are expected to live a lifestyle, and I don't know that the admissions folks are going to look kindly on this lawsuit, dismissed or not. I don't know. And Jake obviously can provide them details and evidence, but it's awfully difficult to walk into the Notre Dame offices and say, yeah, we smashed, but, it was consensual. Look at all these text messages. Not sure that's the conversation Notre Dame's admission office wants to have. Right?
Not.
I mean,
probably
that's
not.
tough. And I think when you start looking at somewhere else in the Big 12, I don't think there's you're not going to step down to who needs a quarterback in the Big 12. Oklahoma State doesn't have a clear-cut number one again. Jake would certainly be the bet, but are you stepping down to Oklahoma State? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Not when you go to Tennessee.
Yeah, I think the other thing is he's not going to go to a small-time program or a program that's just not national championship caliber good, because wherever he goes, he's going to get questions about this, and it's going to be a narrative for probably 2 weeks. I mean, honestly, if you really take a good look at it, the hey, you just signed with a new team, let the media ask you a million questions about what happened with this girl situation, that's going to last probably at least a week.
Yep.
That you're going to have to deal with that, and so if you're, if Jake's out here considering like lower end Big 12 school, you don't, Houston doesn't want that. Cincinnati's not going to want that. Like, they're not dealing with that. And Jake doesn't want to go to those places. So that's what I'm saying. Like he needs to go somewhere where there's opportunity, but it's also a big program. So Tennessee makes sense, but I'm telling you, there are other places that I'm sure would have him. I am sure, because again, we know how human beings work. If we're sitting here talking about, well, hey, A plus B doesn't equal C here, this guy has had a spotless record up until this point. Like, what happened here? Like, he's going to have the opportunity to tell his side of the story and say, hey, I'm accountable to this part maybe didn't happen or whatever. Like, he's going to get to tell his story.
And if you believe the reports, I mean, he's got a laundry list of universities looking to sign him up. Which tells me there's got to be a hiccup in the transfer portal process. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, and I think if you're Jake Retzlaff, you're probably now seriously thinking about using both of those years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's either a legislative issue or he may need a waiver to play this year, but I don't think there's any doubt his services are in demand, which tells me the legal process played out in his favor, which is another indicator that he did not pay a settlement in that case, in my opinion. So we'll see what that all plays, but there's no doubt he's got options at the university level. It's going to be a matter of what is the issue with the transfer portal, and because I don't know how long he can wait. I don't know if it's because what is today? July 8th. I mean, we're in the second week of July now.
Yeah, you'd like to be learning the playbook now.
And, well, to that point, I think my opinion is he already knows where he's going, which kind of lends some credence to some folks who think there is a hiccup in the transfer situation. He is a grad transfer, so he should have free and clear transfer status anywhere he wants to go. But there is that date. I was talking to a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, this guy.
I was talking to an athletic director the other day who was saying, hey, there could be an issue with the transfer portal that would require him to get a waiver. Now, these are extenuating circumstances. A waiver would almost certainly be granted because he's being forced to transfer essentially by the rules at BYU. So we'll see. I think it's a fascinating follow. I think it is fascinating. I think it's got to be Tennessee. It's after the Iamaleava stuff, and
yeah,
they clearly have the money to make him whole, which some people believe is part of that conversation. I don't necessarily know if that's the case, but if you go to Tennessee and you win and you play well, he could go to the NFL draft next spring.
I don't think there's any doubt that he could put this behind him if he goes somewhere and dominates. Like, I mean, again, I'm a big believer that it's kind of like what you said, right? Like when they show you who they are as a quarterback, you believe them. the guy's never going to have, 76% completion percentage. That's
No.
not who he is.
It's too much of a gunslinger.
But to that point, I think if you go and you play for Josh Heupel at Tennessee and you're in that system, like the defense at Tennessee is good enough to hold its own and make up for some of those deficiencies. And I think what we all saw is that, Jake's risk aversion being so low often led to really good things for the offense. There were a lot of times where he made throws that were questionable that did work out and went for a touchdown. So, to me, it's like, hey, if he can just find, 61, 62% on an SEC team, he's going to be fine. But he's got to, whether it's the waiver situation or whatever, what he needs to do, if I was advising him, I would say, dude, just focus on football. Make sure your ass is in the best shape of your like literally. I'm not talking Dak Prescott best shape of your life. I'm talking about like the best shape you have ever been in. Ever. Go out and prove a point with your fitness.
I have to think he is.
I have to think he is, dude. What else would you be doing? To your point, he's a graduate transfer. He doesn't have school to worry about. Like, what else would you be doing?
Yeah, nothing. And Jay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. My guess is that, and, I saw somebody wrote an article. I want to say it was one of the guys at one of the Big 12 blogs or somewhere talking about how Nebraska wants to replace Patrick Mahomes Light. And I'm like, do you really think that's not happening? That is, there's just no way. Nebraska's not an option. I don't think there is a fit in the Big Ten. I think it is Notre Dame's got a clear fit. In Tennessee's got a clear fit. Oregon, possibly. But Eugene is such a weird place. And I've tried to explain to people year after year that Eugene is a very weird place. I don't know that if you're a Southern California kid, you want to go up to Eugene.
But Dan Lanning has proven that he can get you into the playoff at least. Now, winning playoff games is a different story.
Well, and he's got back-to-back quarterbacks in the NFL.
So, I mean, if
that makes sense.
That feels like more of a, kind of like a want to situation from Oregon's side. I mean, if Dan, liked Jake's fit in the program and wanted to add him, then, maybe there's opportunity there. But what we know for sure about Dan Lanning is he's always got quarterbacks on the roster. He's always got guys that are, top 10 potential. So I don't know. I just think that, like I said, I think what you can count on is Jake is going to go somewhere where he's got access to the CFP.
Yes.
And he has access to a system that allows him to play the kind of football he wants to play. He's not going to go to, and this is my hesitation with the Notre Dame thing. Notre Dame is a defensive-minded scheme. Notre Dame is a defense first, just try to scrape it together on offense system. That's what they are. And they do it really well. Give them credit. But for Retzlaff and his future, he needs to go somewhere like Tennessee or like, Oregon or somewhere that allows him to show off his arm and show off his legs. So to me, that's why, if in my opinion, I think Notre Dame isn't the favorite. I think he's going to go somewhere where he can, as you said, gunsling it, basically.
I think that's Tennessee. Yeah. Although Notre Dame would like to be able to gunsling it. And I just don't think they have the wide receivers, and obviously they have the running back. They don't have the quarterback. And
yeah,
I mean, we'll see. I thought grads could do right in the portal, could go right into the portal right away. They can.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of timing. There is a late spring, like a first week of May deadline that some people think may be holding him up. Who knows? I don't know. He lacks a class to graduate. No, he does not. Jake Retzlaff does not. Jake Retzlaff already graduated at BYU. And BYU is infamous. I think I did save the picture. BYU is infamous for not letting kids who have not actually done the work graduate, like in the ceremony. I'm going to say he's done the work and he's graduated. because there's Jake Retzlaff in his BYU cap and gown graduating. So I'm going to say Jake's done the work. And I would remind you that, yes, he is in the BYU press release. 113 BYU athletes graduate as part of a class of 2025, many of whom attended the senior banquet that took place. When is this dated? April 24th. Many of whom took place Wednesday night. Olympic silver medalist Kenneth Rooks, NCAA 200-meter backstroke runner-up, and 5-time BYU record holder Mackenzie Miller-Lung. A swimmer's last name is Lung, L-U-N-G. Oh, and look at that. Current BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff graduated. So it is...
I'm going to say he's doing just fine.
Yeah. It is it's a big deal to be a graduate because it gives you freedom. It gives you freedom. You know, it really is as simple as that.
He certainly has the tools to get past this. That's what I'll say. You know, he's got the talent. He's, you know, he's got the ability to get somewhere new. You know, I truly, for Jake's sake, hope that he learned the lesson. I would assume he has, but I hope that he learns the lesson. And I hope we never hear anything else about him off the field outside of NIL deal, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear anything else.
Yep, totally agree. A couple more. Oh, God. Oak State James is here. Praying that Jake ends up in Stillwater. Why on earth would Jake Retzlaff go to Stillwater? You're going to be lucky to win 3 games this year. Why would he step into that? I mean, there is absolute there. You don't pay people well. You cut your coach's pay. You don't NIL well.
Yeah, you publicly admit that you don't pay people well. Like, it's not even a secret.
Why would he go to Oak State when he can go to Tennessee, which by all accounts is the absolute most aggressive university chasing him? Why would he do that? I mean, Oak State is, I don't know that Oklahoma State football has ever been less attractive than it is right now. There's just no way. Nobody in the Big 12 ran the 2-minute drill better than Jake Retzlaff.
Agreed.
Oh, there's no question.
Agreed.
Jake Retzlaff against they played some very stout defenses. His 2-minute, where Jake Retzlaff got himself inefficient and where he struggled was when their play calls got conservative. I don't think Aaron Roderick, the play caller at BYU, did him any favors. I think, and I know that A-Rod's experienced, and it's a sacrilege to speak poorly of BYU coaches. Aaron Roderick is not a good play caller. He just isn't. He does not commit to the run enough. In my opinion, too many cutesy plays. Like, Jake Retzlaff is a true dual threat quarterback. Jake Retzlaff is elite in 2-minute because they allow him to get rid of the football, but they also allow him to run in 2-minute. And when you have to respect a quarterback's mobility, and where does Jake throw the football well? Middle of the field. He is not, I don't believe at BYU last year, I don't think he was a great sideline boundary deep ball thrower.
No, he struggled to thread the needle there.
I think in the middle of the field, the slant routes, the hold a safety or hold a linebacker, throw the football, he was elite there.
Go watch the Oklahoma State game.
The way that he moved guys against the best defenses they saw. I mean, that's why I think so many people believe he'd be such a good fit in the SEC, because he's actually better against better defenses. And you look at the talent. BYU had an elite receiver room last year, but they almost never utilized the tight end. Like, what if you had an offense that, and I don't want to get crazy.
Careful, dude. Please be careful.
What if he was in an offense where he was actually told to hand the ball off a couple of 2-3 times? What if he was in an offense where he was allowed to zip the 8-yard under route to a tight end? that you could then build off of that under route to get a play down the hash. I know.
And see, this is where
I get it.
This is where I think that, because like I agree, Aaron Roderick's not a great play caller, but it's not just that he calls bad plays at bad times. There's no depth to it. There's no A plus B plus C equals, seam route for a touchdown. You're not manipulating the defense through multiple plays in a certain order. And I agree. That's why I think he didn't use the tight end at all. That's why BYU struggles to use the tight end, because you don't run the football enough, so you can't run play action. So the tight end's never open. And you wind up trying to go down the field with deep shots. The only difference is Jake has the arm and the football IQ to manipulate the safety, so your boy's open. like that's what BYU's offense was last year. So if you're an SEC, if you're Josh Heupel and you're looking at his tape, you're like, yeah, well, we've got probably twice the running back room. We've got a way better offensive line.
How many Darius Lassiter throws? Was there a guy draped on Darius Lassiter and the ball was just, especially late in games, especially late in halves? Like, yeah, that's what I would say. A-Rod sucks. Well, I just don't like his, Cooper flags about to tear his Achilles thanks to James. Yeah, Oak State James did put his stamp of approval on. And we know
notorious.
James also put his stamp of approval on Jake Retzlaff. And then all of a sudden a bunch of court filings happened, and we all know how that played out. I would say Michigan, but we have Underwood. Well, you guys do take, no, I'm not playing your stupid little game. You guys do take scandals to the next level. Okay.
Yeah, boy.
I played your stupid little game. It's fine. Actually, the truth is Rob Glass is the best S&C coach in the country. So wait, we're now measuring strength. I think you mean strength and conditioning coaches. So let me get this right, which is why Jake should go to Oak State if he wants to get ready for the NFL. So let me get this right. It's not access to national TV games, which Oak State, I don't believe, I could be wrong. I looked at the schedule for the next 37 seasons, and I don't believe that Oak State has a single game on national TV. This is akin to, BDSM seats on top of Rice-Eccles Stadium to block the mountain view. Let me get this right. I'm not the smartest guy. And I certainly don't spend as much time in the rectory as you do. But your belief is that Jake Retzlaff should choose his next university based solely on the the S&C coach.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Not winning games, not being on TV, not playing a good schedule that'll put you in big moments. Not the ability to go to the college football playoffs.
Excellent strategy, sir.
And I know Brett Yormark is going to join you in the rectory in his fight for the 5'11". But you think he should go to Oak State because some asshole that I've never heard of is the best S&C coach in the country.
Hey, look here, man.
Okay.
All right, bro.
I mean... Now, my feeling is that Rob Glass is going to have a 45-pound plate dropped on his cranium and die this evening because you've talked about him now.
Who you even with?
But this is a new one. This is the strength and conditioning coach. I mean,
incredible work, dude.
I like motion offense, earthquake on 3, Aaron Roderick.
Wow, bro. Wow.
I thought you said I had to explain what earthquaking and soaking was at a dinner table. At what was a really supposedly high-end restaurant that turned out to be a crap shack. So I felt better doing it. But did you just drop an earthquake in there? Okay. BYU football. I don't believe that A-Rod can get another quarterback ready for the season. Well, I think that's a huge question. Huge question. Jeff Woodworth. I heard Jake was headed to cock on thigh, but they found the girl was too old, so rescinded the offer.
Macaque.
Okay. Let's see. Eric Wasikowski. Oak State hasn't been relevant since Trump's administration destroyed the Jeffrey Epstein evidence. I can't agree with that. That's awesome.
I mean, that's a great comment, dude. Nice job, bro.
Oh, we're going to get to that. If Jake Retzlaff, here's Oak State James. If Jake Retzlaff was the QB in Stillwater and he led Oak State against Oregon, I think the Cowboys can upset the Ducks.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, come on.
What are you doing?
Don't tell me that you broke into the box of wine in the rectory and now you're drinking the blood of Christ and getting a little tipsy on JC's rib damage.
Biggest load that we've seen.
Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? I think the Cowboys could upset the Ducks.
You know.
Do you hear the words coming out of your keyboard right now?
Bro, I know you've got the best S&C coach we've ever seen, but that's not happening, bro. That's not happening.
Welcome to the nightmare. I read somewhere that Jake Retzlaff's biggest selling point for the next team is how great their IPF is. The Monty Show starring Stadium Guy James. We all show up for your takes, bro.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You want to hit that paddle ball harder. You come to the rectory. I got the S&C coach waiting right here, and his name is Jesus Christ.
Yeah, boy.
What is wrong with you? Heading to West Virginia because they have the best bearded grooming coach in college football. I've heard that. You know. James, he isn't going to Oak State. Jeremiah. What? Are you sure?
Dude.
Are you sure?
Why are you killing dreams, bro?
Are you sure? Wasikowski, Monty doesn't want to read comments today or just doing conspiracy. What
mean? Are you talking about?
I've been reading comments for 5 minutes.
Bro.
Let me get this right. We get one jerk face coming in, or all you guys do is read comments. You and your daughter. And now I get, you guys don't read any comments. What is it, conspiracy theory time?
Look, Eric, it's okay. Listen. I appreciate your comment about the fact that, Pam shredded all those documents so that Donnie could get off. I totally get it, dude. And I appreciate your transparency and your honesty with that comment, bro. But that doesn't mean that you got to get all pissy about us not being able to read all of your comments. We have a lot of comments here.
Yeah. James is drinking something stronger than wine. I'm gonna guess.
No doubt.
James, those weren't communion wafers. Those were acid tabs. Well, Pastor Jimmy keeps those acid tabs in the rectory sometimes.
Bruh.
Why not? I don't have time for all the why nots. The DT from Vandy gave the Alabama coach such a hard time last year. He's now in Stillwater. Oh, I mean, yeah. Wow.
I mean, defensive tackles, clearly the same situation as a quarterback. I mean, come on. Who are we kidding?
You just brought up the strength thing. Well, Vandy, see, I had a friend who went to Vandy, who had a friend that went to Tech, who had a friend who went to State, who knew the Body of Christ wafer delivery guy, who told me he was cousins with a friend of his who has a brother whose mother has a friend who works at the Manischewitz factory, who told my brother's cousin's best friend, who's an Amazon driver, who's a friend of a mailman, who told one of the guys at Total Wine that Jake Retzlaff is going to Texas State. Could be wrong.
Who is now the 6th best squad in Texas if they land him.
And Texas State's getting an IPF that's going to be second to only 6 other schools in the state of Texas. Keep an eye on them. Come on, man. Had to stop watching to attend a meeting. Did I miss any stupid Oak State James comments? Now listen, Chewy, there's no reason to attack me. I simply said live from the rectory, it's Saturday night. James, I don't know where Jake Retzlaff is going to Oak State because of the S&C coach ranks on the My Wife is Ugly commentometer scale.
Well, Monty, that was my ex-wife. I didn't mention that portion, all right?
Get off Donnie and Epstein, unintentional wordplay, Jake. Nice.
Yeah, you like that? Thank you. I appreciate that, dude.
Oh my God. Yeah. Let's see. Welcome to the nightmare. James living off pipe dreams, acid wafers, and the blood wine. That's what I'm saying.
Hey.
Well, if I can't win games, might as well chug this wine.
Sometimes I think I
after
just
all.
say shit. Sample what comes out of my mouth.
Chewy. Oak State James directly to Chewy.
Oh dear.
Screw the Dodgers, you little bitch. That's not what he... Wait, I misread that.
What?
Chewy, this is a little crazy. Uh-oh. But I do think that Jake is better than any other quarterback in Oak State. I'm better than any quarterback in Oak State.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Monty. Let me tell you about Hoss Hengy. Hoss Hengy, he's no Preston Stone.
Stay hard.
But Hoss Hengy, have you seen how pretty the ball is he throws? No, but James, have you seen his pretty balls, James? Well, I have, Monty. And I'm just telling you, Hoss Hengy deep. He's going deep every night. What happened to Hoss Hengy, James? He's unbelievable. Hoss Hengy. Hoss Hengy, we're winning the whole damn thing. We went from Hoss Hengy is unreal, he's amazing, to we're screwed and can't win a game unless Jake Retzlaff climbs in the bed with the strength and conditioning coach on a daily basis.
Now, listen, Monty. Now, listen, my source at TCU, who happens to be my not hot wife, tells me that there's some room for Retzlaff there. That's also an option.
Jeremiah Champion, who's so rich, he has a wedding planner. Texas State only moving up one spot with Jake is wild. I mean, in a stunning upset, Jake Retzlaff is going to Texas State, making them the 6th best team in Texas.
You can find them on CBS this fall.
Oh my God. TJ Beck, if a game of Who's in the Rectory breaks out, the stadium guy James referee it. And does he do it from his Honda Civic while driving to Oak State, only to declare Pedo State the winner? Live from the Rectory inside the trunk of my Honda Civic. It's Oak State James in the IPF.
Dude, bro.
Help me. If DJT was on the list, the Democrats would have released it already. No, so now he's not on the list. And I love that DJT today was, are we still talking about Epstein? It's all you guys have talked about for like 5 years. Are we still? All of a sudden, they don't want to talk about, are we still talking about this?
And I love how he's like, you guys still want to talk about that sicko Jeffrey Epstein?
The guy that you said was your very best friend?
And then Pam is like, for the record, FTR, all that was on the tapes was child prawn. And we're never letting that see the light of day.
I'm sure that's all.
I'm sure, Pam.
And I love that the Project 2025 guys were all a year ago waving the handbook. Here's the client list of Jeffrey Epstein.
Look at Barack Obama.
Look at Bill Clinton. And then today they're like, oh, there's no client list. What client list?
Client. I mean, that was a binder of my schedule, dude.
The one you were waving up and down a year. Wow.
Come on, bro.
Do you guys really think he killed himself?
I don't.
You've never thought that?
No, I don't. I don't.
I got to tell you, I always thought he did. And now that Pam Bondi says he killed himself, I'm like, nah, there ain't a chance in the world he killed himself.
No chance.
Completely flipped.
And what's funny to me, not to get too in the weeds, but the truth has a funny way of coming out. And I love it. And listen, Eric, don't believe us. Hey, you want to call us sheep and whatever. Okay, cool. Knock yourself out, dude.
Sweet.
Knock yourself out. But we're not the, like all this coverage of Republican or conservative podcasts and talking heads talking about how they're pissed because, quote unquote, their president, isn't being transparent the way he campaigned he would be. Listen, dude, I'm not the one criticizing my own president. I'm just simply saying, hey, there was clearly a list.
Yeah.
There were clearly documents. There was clearly video. None of which is going to come out because your boy's in office. So I'm just saying it's convenient. That's all.
That's
all.
Bailey Dietrich. Jake Retzlaff was planning on going to Ann Arbor, but Matt Weiss had many nudes of Jake Retzlaff without permission.
Well,
I seriously, I heard over the weekend that they are going to do that. And now I can't remember the exact, but there's a window of like 3 days where there's no media days. Because we're about to go on a run of media days here where there's no media days. Because from what I understand, the Committee on Infractions they know what the penalty is. The documents are done. Like they're just waiting for a window in time where they will not take the spotlight off of conference media days, which makes a lot of sense. So we'll see. How do you book Retzlaff on the Monty Show now? He was a fan fave some time ago. He was. But did you ever wind up texting him?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't text him.
I chose to stay away from it.
Okay.
Yeah, I chose to stay away from it.
Okay. Paper would burn if DJT signs BYU's honor code contract. Could be.
Yeah, here's the funny thing. Paper's already burning.
I think it's one of those things where Michigan's going to be in a tough spot. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to just skate away from this. Honest to goodness. I don't know how you, and it especially if you believe the narrative that the NCAA is looking for one final bomb that they can drop. Like, I think this could be it. And the evidence is just not in question. Like, I mean, the sign stealing scandal, Sharon Moore, a multi-time repeat offender, like, I mean, the evidence is just so overwhelming. It's going to be really difficult. And I'll just stand by what I've always said. You're not vacating wins. I think everybody knows that those scumbags didn't fair and squarely win a national championship. You're not going to vacate that win. I think that there's a real chance. The biggest punishment you can give them is a decade show cause order on Sharon Moore and a multi-year postseason ban, because you're going to have a very difficult time. And I'm sure people are like, well, they shouldn't leave campus to recruit. If they can't go to the college football playoff for 2 years, how do you think that's going to impact their recruiting? You think leaving campus or not? You're not selling kids on not going to the college football playoff or a bowl game. I mean, that to me seems like the most likely of scenarios, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could absolutely be wrong. All right, let's come back, reset it all after this from Prize Picks.
Yo, you think Dallas' Power 4 gonna drop 30 tomorrow?
Boy, you tripping.
Did you see his mom made a post about going to the game?
What? Hold up. His mama gonna be there?
He's been averaging like 34 points a game when she's there.
At least 40 when she be on that Jumbotron.
He don't like to let his mama down.
Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Cash in on your sports fandom with Prize Picks.
Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty program, was 3 for 4 over the weekend at Wrigley Field. Thanks to the Friday explosion of home runs by the Cubs, which was amazing. Are the Cubs going to the playoffs? That will be my next opportunity to go back to Chicago. Now, the problem is my wife is... So my mother-in-law is taking my wife on one of those Viking River cruises.
Okay.
In playoff season. So there's a real good chance if, and I think it's a big if, the Cubs go to the postseason, that I may be going back to Chicago alone, because my wife's going to be in some awesome European country on a cruise. Now, I say as a, rando, it's a big if. Let's not even, the Cubs can't throw pitches that end in people getting out, which generally is a requirement to win baseball games.
Right.
But I also got to tell you, if you're on Prize Picks, you got to play the Cubs. Because you look at the fact, like tonight is one of the guys you might want to get after. Shota, about an hour from now, Shota Imanaga takes the bump for the Cubs. And the strikeout number is 4.5. He has not hit that but one time in his last 5 games. And I'm really curious to see. Now, I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but the Twins don't exactly, they're not known as the best, how do I say this, the best contact team in baseball. I think he's probably going to strike out 5 guys. And if you look at like Byron Buxton has struck out 85 times this year in just 73 games, I'm going to say that that's not great. So I might be leaning to Shota tonight.
Okay.
Now, as a team, I think it's important to note, where is Minnesota? Minnesota is 16th in strikeouts. So they're like middle of the pack. Out of 30 MLB teams, they're 16th in strikeouts. 750. And they have played 90 games. So if we do some math on that, the number is 8 times a game they strike out. I think that's a green light on Shota tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I like the formula, certainly. I mean, I feel like it would be easy to go under because of, like you said, his last 5 or whatever, he's only hit it once. But you're right. I mean, it is the Twins. And he is a good pitcher, especially when he's got it going. So,
yeah, I think. And how is Seiya Suzuki not an all-star? If somebody wants to explain that to me,
not a big enough name. That's the problem.
Yeah, but his stats are
ridiculous.
He's arguably the best power production guy in baseball right now.
Yeah.
But I think you look at Pete Crow freaking Armstrong.
Yeah, PCA.
His number's 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs tonight. And I don't know how you don't go with that. The guy has been so unbelievably hot. And he's facing a guy tonight in Simeon Richardson.
Yeah.
4-4 with a 4.41 ERA. And he does not strike a whole lot of people out. So I'm going to say that.
I like that a lot. I'm a big PCA advocate on Prize Picks. So
I would agree with that. And then you got to.
You go total bases on PCA, or are you going to go hits, runs, RBIs?
Hits, runs, RBIs.
Okay.
And then if you don't go Aaron Judge for 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, you clearly have hit your head like your name is Oak State James. And you are all about the strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, the S&C coach.
Yeah. I got Shota Imanaga for more than 5 strikeouts, PCA for more than 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, and Aaron Judge for more than 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs.
Nice.
I like that one a lot. I know nothing. I know nothing about Simeon Richardson. Just looking at his game starts, he's either all in or nothing. 6 runs to Texas, 0 to Houston, 3 to Milwaukee, 0 to Seattle. I think you got to go 20 to win 80 tonight. Even with 2 demons.
Damn.
We're 20 to win 80. So
okay,
we'll have to go with that. We'll have to see how that plays. But let's see. Okie Light says, James, we got a 5-star O lineman from the portal. You said 3. Zane has a better pass than Retzlaff. QBs are faster. If Zane's your guy, I think you're probably not going to win a lot of games. I think you're not going to win a lot of games. Woodworth, I lost Prize Picks parlay on the Epstein list when they said there wasn't one. That's a problem.
Damn.
That's a problem. Let's not talk about serious issues in college football and continue with insane nonsense. No, let's not. because I want to recap real quick. Thanks to our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. Download the app. You open up a new Prize Picks account using the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more instantly in your Prize Picks account. I think this statement today from Brett Yormark is absolutely, he's the hero we need, right? This is the stuff that we have been waiting for out of Brett Yormark when he talks about 5'11". If you're a Big 12 fan, you better pray it goes 5'11".
5'11" is fair. We want to earn it on the field. It might not be the best solution today for the Big 12, given your comments about AQs. But long term, knowing the progress we're making, the investments we're making, it's the right format for us. And I'm doubling down today on 5'11". And I know Jim Phillips will, and I'm sure some of the other conference commissioners will as well.
Oh, that's not all, because after that statement, Brett Yormark and a small group of reporters after his address reemphasized that the memorandum of understanding signed by CFP leaders does not grant sole and exclusive power to the Big Ten and the SEC over the future of the format. Brett Yormark's ready to throw. And frankly, I'm here for it, because I think, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on this show, the Big Ten is weak. The Big Ten is vulnerable right now, because you can't tell me that Oregon and SC and Ohio State, who all three are in one form of a transition or another, are going to be weak for an extended amount of time. I am not personally a buyer that anything James Franklin does is elite, but he's got his talent back, and you would think he's got cohesiveness on offense. Penn State's going to be better. And if we look at Penn State and you look at Oregon and you look at USC, those are three teams that were not going into this year believed to be powerhouse threats. All of them dominated in the portal. All of them dominated in recruiting and retention. And they are all well-heeled in NIL. And I expect all three of those clubs, along with Ohio State, to be very competitive in this league. And if it were 5'11" this coming season, I do think that the Big Ten would get 4 teams in. I almost have no doubt about it, because I think this league, you can only keep somebody like Lincoln Riley and USC down for so long. He's got too much talent there. They recruit too well. They portal too well. And now he's got huge financial backing. I have to think Oregon, SC, Penn State. The disappointment in the Big Ten is probably going to be Wisconsin again. But Illinois is probably going to win some games they're not supposed to win. And I know Cignetti wins games if you Google him. But I have to think the Big Ten's a multi-bid league. You know the SEC's a multi-bid league. But I come back to Brett Yormark, and I come back to Brett Yormark's comments about the 5'11". I'm not convinced that the Big 12 is a multi-bid league. And you listen to him talk about the selection process, and I think you probably would agree with me.
They are doing a full audit of the selection process to figure out how they can modernize and contemporize, and how they use data, and how certain metrics can be more heavily weighted. Most importantly, they have a great leader, Mack Rhoades of Baylor. And I have a lot of faith in Mack Rhoades and the work he's doing with the selection committee. So I have a lot of faith in what they're doing. And 5'11" is fair. We want to earn it on the field.
Yeah, it may be fair, and you might want to earn it on the field, but you got to get your membership to earn it on the field. And I think what Mark Harlan, the athletic director at Utah, what Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, have said is we want to win it on the field. And now my biggest question is how many of these teams in the Big 12 can actually do that? And that means win it on the field and get into the college football playoff.
Yeah, and how many of them have the willingness? Because obviously it takes more than just saying you want to. Obviously it goes without saying that Texas Tech has been the spending darling of the offseason for the Big 12 and really in college football.
Yeah.
But, you look around, specifically to the Big 12, like there's not another program that's, spending with Texas Tech. And yes, there are programs that, have had to change a lot of things inside their program and should bounce back. But I think it's just this, it's this thing where the Big 12 as a conference is not yet in a place where all of its members are in alignment and pushing in the same direction. And I think the SEC is the best example of this because, again, whether it's the Matt Campbell stuff or just this conversation around, around the CFP and the format and winning on the field, like the SEC and all of its members are always all in on winning. They're always trying to win football games, be successful. We're the best there is, like, quote unquote, it just means more. Like, that's the SEC. And even in the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten suffers from this as well, just like the Big 12 does. I think the Big Ten, is definitely a 2-team league at most years when they really should be like a 6-7 team league. And then the other half of the conference is just the teams that are there for the money that take the beating. That's what the Big Ten really should be. And then don't even get me started on the ACC. The ACC is a 1-team league most years. So I just think that the reality is Big Ten fan and a Big Ten homer wants to tell you that the Big Ten and the SEC are level and they're the same conference and they're both competitive. And that's just not true. The SEC is the best football conference on the football field. The Big Ten is only in the conversation because of all the money they make and the fact that Ohio State's in the CFP every year. And then the Big 12 and, by extension, the ACC are the two little brothers sitting here trying to compete, trying to justify their spot. And that's not going to happen until you win more games. But the hard reality for Big 12 fan is that the ACC was just in the CFP. The ACC just put teams into
Multiple
the CFP.
Teams.
And you did not.
And I look at this Iowa State thing and I say to myself that I don't know how you explain the rationale of this right here. Before your conference commissioner speaks on an exclusive platform where everybody's watching, when the Big 12 has really a lot of positivity and excitement, Matt Campbell thought telling Pete Thamel and others that his top 20 guys took a pay cut to come back to Iowa State is a huge problem in my mind. I do not understand this. I don't understand what Matt Campbell could have been thinking. I don't understand why Matt Campbell thought that this was some kind of feather in his cap or some kind of, wink and nod to his culture, how special Ames is. No, what this says is you're not willing to pay your players what they're worth. And what this also says is outside of your quarterback, maybe the other 19 guys just weren't that valuable. Because there is no question. Ames is great. Iowa State's a good program. If I'm taking a pay cut and somebody else is offering to make me whole or give me a raise, I'm gone. And Ames is special, I'm gone. And hearing another Big 12 coach say, yeah, we took an NIL pay cut. Yep, had to trim the head coach's salary so we could afford NIL. And this is right on the heels of your commissioner then coming out at 90 minutes later saying, we're here to compete. We're here to win. We want the 5-11 because we're going to win on the field. As all of our top 20 players take a pay cut. It sucks. It sucks. And I understand. I understand that, this is so neat in this day and age of greedy football players. And Iowa State's top 20 guys took a pay cut. Do you think recruits across the country think that this is neat? Do you think players in the transfer portal think this is neat? Because they all follow Pete Thamel at ESPN. If you're a recruit who's talking to Matt Campbell, are you going to ask him if you're going to have to take a pay cut? Probably. Like, this is not good. There's just no way to
spin it, dude.
Because I'm asking you, what elite teams in the SEC are like, oh, yeah, I'm proud to announce. All right, I called this press conference to announce top 20 players are all taking a NIL pay cut. Because here in Oxford, here in Baton Rouge, it's so special that they want to take a pay cut. Nobody. Because you know why? They don't take pay cuts in the SEC. You think anybody at USC is taking a pay cut? You think anybody in Lubbock, Texas is taking a pay cut? No, they're not. USC's got a ton of talent. They're not taking pay cuts. Like, what is this? What is Matt Campbell doing? He's hurting the Big 12. That's what Matt Campbell's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I defy somebody to tell me, why are you announcing on a marquee, we don't pay players a lot of money? Why are you announcing that?
And if your excuse is, well, Monty, he was trying to speak on the culture and that the kids were coming back for the culture, then Matt Campbell is just not a good head coach at that point, right? Because at that point you're trying to make the argument that his strategy here is, yeah, who cares if we can't afford it? We're talking about culture here. Our kids are coming back because they want to play under me and this coaching staff. And, we were a 10-3 team last year and we beat Miami in the Pop-Tart Bowl. And, that's what you're trying to say he's doing.
Guys, it's Ames, Iowa.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't, to your point, this isn't Oxford or whatever, this isn't Rocky Top, right? Like, this isn't some blue blood, just, oh my God, it's not a place where you're like, yeah, I'm going to take a pay cut to go there.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Yeah. Mike Smith, newsflash, some schools do not have huge cash flow like other teams. I'm not announcing, listen, man, if I'm tight on money and I'm recruiting, am I out here saying my top 20 guys took a pay cut? Why don't you take a pay cut?
At media day.
Hey, bud, how badly do you want to play in Ames, Iowa? Well, coach, I really don't. All right. Where's that conversation go? Hey, coach, what does it say about your program that your top 20 players took a pay cut? Well, culture and special, and we're a family. Cool. But I'm thinking about coming to Ames. Am I going to have to take a pay cut?
Yeah, you are.
I'm not going to Ames. So if you don't have money, that's fine. Don't put up billboards talking about, like, don't stand at media day talking about, oh, our top 20 guys took a pay cut. This place is special. No, what it tells me is this place is broke. That's what it tells me. But Monty, these young football players should be grateful for the exposure. Consider it an unpaid internship. That's what I'm saying. And donuts. Hello, and donuts. Pay cut is a red flag for recruitment, non-starter. Don't know why you would say it out loud.
And furthermore, to double down on this point, if you're short on money, shouldn't you be talking about other things? Like, this is what I said earlier in the show. Shouldn't he have said,
our strength and conditioning coach is amazing.
Our SNC coach and our gym is no, all seriousness. Shouldn't he have said, hey, well, I'm really thrilled with the continuity in our coaching staff. We had a 10-3 year last year. We beat a college football playoff team in our bowl game. Like, we did some really good things last year. Rocco's coming back. Our top 20 guys are coming back. Like, we're in a really good place, and I'm really excited for this season.
Got all of our NIL deals squared away.
And I fully expect to be I fully expect this Iowa State team to be one of those teams that Brett Yormark is referencing when he says he expects the Big 12 to have multiple teams in the CFP.
That's what I'm saying.
Why are you talking about taking pay cuts, dude? With all due respect, and this is the little brother syndrome I'm talking about. Mike, I understand you're a West Virginia guy. I understand that this is very much a West Virginia.
Mike says it's a slow sports news day.
Oh, is it?
It's actually not.
It's not actually, dude. Actually, it's not. See, and this is what we do. Not to get personal with you, Mike, but this is what Big 12 fan does. Oh, well, you guys are just blowing this out of proportion. He didn't say what you're making it out to be something it's not. No, dude, actually, I'm not, because I'm not going to hear at SEC Media Day or at Big Ten Media Day or ACC Media Day that, oh, it's just too much money. And, when's the last time? Let me put it to you this way. When's the last time you heard a head coach say this? Because what have we seen happen? Last offseason, you guys remember, right? The infamous Brian Kelly, hey, our players are, we don't need to pay kids. Like NIL is not the number one thing. Like we want kids who want to play at X school. You remember that strategy out of head coaches?
Yes.
Hey, we NIL can't be the number one thing. We don't, if kids want money, they shouldn't come to LSU. Or I mean, excuse me, Spencer Danielson at Boise State, the school that's suing the Mountain West allegedly over GCU. Hey, remember what he said? Hey, we don't want kids to come to Boise State because they should be wanting to come to Boise for Boise and for this football program because we're doing great things here. Yeah, here's the problem with that, dude.
Yeah.
What do those two schools have in common lately? They haven't won national championships in how long?
Nothing good.
And yes, did Boise State go to the CFP? Yes. Is the CFP currently under massive evaluation for how it evaluates what teams get in? Yes. So I'm sorry, if you want to sit here and you want to go with the, hey, it's a slow news day angle, that's your prerogative, bro. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, this is no big deal that Matt Campbell, a double-digit win head coach last year in the Big 12, one of the best teams in the Big 12 last year, is sitting here somehow saying that they had to cut salaries and cut NIL payments to top 20 on their roster. That's an absolute absurd thing to be saying at Media Day. And for anybody to assert otherwise is crazy to me. What he should be saying is, yeah, we were a 10-win team last year. We were this close to going to the CFP, and we dropped the ball at the end of the year with our final 2 games. That's what he should be talking about. And that they're going to build momentum and that they're really focused on getting to the Oklahoma State game in the final week of the year with the CFP on the line. That's what you should be talking about at Media Day. Not that you're cutting salaries or cutting NIL.
I think it's a mistake.
It's crazy.
I think it's a huge mistake, and we'll find out. We'll see. I mean, I think it's already tough for this league to compete, and now you run into this. Jimmy Otson, there was a real fear for a couple of weeks last year that both the Mountain West and the American would put teams into the college football playoff ahead of the Big 12. I think the Big 12 has such a thin line, and their room for error is so small. You can't have Utah flop. You can't have BYU take a big step back, because I just don't see Cincinnati as a team that's ready to step forward. Houston football's not ready to win the conference.
But what did Scott Satterfield say today at Media Day? Hey, really like our team this year. I fully expect our team to be much better this year than we were last year because we added a lot of talent and the program's going the right direction.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, dude.
Yeah. Jimmy Otson, Matt Campbell should have Mike Gundy or J.D. Wicker speak for him. Truth. Hey, Shouty. And Donuts, it's even more embarrassing promising recruits more than what they're capable to pay to go back and cut. It's terrible. I don't know how you spin it positively. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what you're doing. Dude that abides. Hey, baby, I ain't got much. Shitty house, broken down car, but a heart of gold. Want to go out with me?
Like,
Signed
right?
Matt Campbell.
Right? Like, is that not like, come on.
Joseph Harper, Oklahoma State broke. Iowa State cutbacks. Don't tell me the accountant at Arizona is running the Big 12.
Yeah, well, Monty, we misplaced a decimal and we're out of money now.
Oh, look at that. But Monty's now in the membership.
Oh, okay. Let me get the sounder out here.
Oh, that, but Monty. Way to go, Monty. Real quick, also, did you guys see this story? Speaking of Iowa State and the great Midwest of this country and Texas Tech and whatever weirdo quarterback at Nebraska thinks. Did you guys see the story about Patrick Mahomes? Is Patrick Mahomes fat? Kevin Keitzman, who's a radio host in Kansas City, and
fat.
It doesn't matter. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, Monty, he's a hack." I don't care. Is Patrick Mahomes fat? This cat in Kansas City says Patrick Mahomes is fat, and that Patrick Mahomes has gotten comfortable, and that Patrick Mahomes is not doing everything he can do this summer to be in the best shape of his life to win another Super Bowl championship. He says Patrick Mahomes is a fat ass.
Okay,
Now,
first of all.
is this a bad angle for Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Too many Schlitz malt liquors there. Too many Modelo's. Too many whatever it is he drinks.
Too much steak and beer in the
What? I'm
offseason.
trying to think, what beer is it that makes you really fat? Too much like Blue Moon, Hefeweizen. Right? Too much Guinness. Malt liquor, Schlitz malt liquor makes you fat. Is Patrick Mahomes fat? This feels like a lot. This feels like a guy who might have been looking for attention. But I don't disagree with him. Now, would I have gone on the radio in Kansas City and said, hey, Patrick Mahomes, the only star in this town, you're fat?
I mean, hey, fat ass.
Probably not your best tact. Probably not the best way to rating supremacy.
Fat.
But Patrick Mahomes, and this was Keitzman's point, he stole it from, this is a way old radio take. But when you get to 30 years old, you make a choice about the future and your career.
Mm-hmm.
You either go the LeBron route and put all your money into building your body and winning championships, or you go the Ben Roethlisberger route and you head for college towns and bathrooms and drunk chicks and you get fat riding your motorcycle. And his point is, hey, Patrick Mahomes doesn't seem to be taking the right course with his career. Because as far as I'm concerned, Patrick Mahomes is a fat ass. Now, I agree in that this is not the most flattering photo of Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he looks that fat here, but he don't look that thin here.
Mm-hmm.
That gut is prevalent. Now, is Patrick Mahomes going to be fat for the season? No, this dude's going to show up at training camp. It's going to be 99% humidity. He's probably going to sweat that Blue Moon Hefeweizen out his ass.
Yeah, swamp ass is on full display.
And he's going to burn that tummy. But shouldn't that tummy never have existed in the first place? If you're one of the highest paid guys ever, and you're supposedly in it to win it every single year.
Do you even live?
And yet you go Zion Williamson on a boat. That seems to be a problem. You're Rosie O'Donnell incarnate on a boat with your wife. That seems to be a problem. Right? That's what this feels like to me. Jabba the Hutt is now the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. That seems to be a problem for people, including Kevin Keitzman in Kansas City. Kevy. This is what happens in Kansas City when you eat their shitty barbecue.
Pause, bro. Pause.
You get fat, right? This is what happens when you hang out with all of your money. You get fat.
He's just a hack.
And it kind of feels like Patrick's enjoying the moment. A la Travis Swelsey last year, who was fat and slow.
Who is now in the, quote, best shape of his life.
Which means he's fatter and slower than Patrick Mahomes, who's really fucking fat if you look at this picture.
That's right, T.
Who are you, Tony Soprano?
You're fucking Cole Beasley.
Who's not fat. You wish you were Cole Beasley.
No.
But my point is, and dare I say, is Patrick Mahomes no longer hungry? Well, it looks like you were pretty hungry to me, fat boy.
Fat.
Right? But I don't know. Is Patrick Mahomes comfortable?
Yo, can you get a picture of fat Ben Roethlisberger? Because
dude,
what a comparison, dude. But I don't disagree. First of all, it needs to be said. 3-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer the day he's done. Never has to do anything else in the NFL, and he's set. That's the first thing. Putting that aside, on premise of being a professional and, playing until you're 38, let's say the guy wants to play till he's 40. Yeah, you probably need to get on the TB12, green shake for breakfast diet. That's probably what you should be doing. But I'm not going to sit here and roast this guy for looking like a fat ass with his wife on a boat in the offseason. He's not coming off of an ACL tear. He didn't just pop his Achilles. He didn't have shoulder problems. The guy is going to go to camp. He's going to lift weights. He's going to run. He's going to cut 20 pounds probably, and he'll be ready to go. This is where you insert the, hey, slow news day portion of the program. That's what this is. This is somebody in Kansas City looking for something to talk about. And I agree, there's always a conversation about, hey, well, if you stay in shape, like if you never get out of shape, you're always ready to go. But you got to understand, if you had won 3 Super Bowls and you were damn near, I mean, I'd have to look at his money, but the guy's got to be pushing what, 500 million, 600 million?
Could be.
In career earnings. Like, if you're that rich and you've won and you're the face of the NFL and you're the face of your team and the undisputed best quarterback, if not best player in the NFL, like, come on, dude. Like, this guy's earned the right to enjoy his cup of tea, if you will, whether that's a golf course, a boat, whatever you want, dude. Whatever. Yeah. Just stay. Don't be at the nightclub at 2 a.m., getting in trouble. Like, I would rather see pictures of him looking fat on a boat in July than, Diggs or any of these other dudes in the NFL who get in trouble seemingly every offseason. Like, that's it. It
really doesn't bother you.
No, because he's earned that right. If the guy comes to training camp and is significantly slower and is, just looks bad, looks out of shape, doesn't have arm strength, whatever, whatever the criticism would be.
I am really surprised that you don't. I mean, look, this is a photo of Ben Roethlisberger, his last year in the NFL. I mean, Ben really let it get away from himself.
Right.
Where are we at in society today?
Wait,
sorry, does that say River Monster on his jersey?
It does. Do you guys remember Jared Lorenzen? Here's
look at that
fat Ben Roethlisberger. Here's fat Patrick Mahomes.
Like, the guy is not fat,
bro. That is a
pull up.
god.
You know what you should pull up? Pull up Deebo Samuel.
Why do I care about Deebo
because
Samuel?
everybody has said that this guy is fat and out of shape, and that he is just like he's slow. Like, everyone at OTA said that Deebo Samuel looked way slow and way out of shape. That was the narrative, is that he was a fat ass and wasn't in shape, showed up to OTAs and just looked trash.
I mean, my guy looks thick. Okay, you're doing this guy. This is the stuff I don't understand. Why? Do you know how much effort this next photo took somebody to make? Not much. I don't understand why we want to fat shame people.
I don't is he in elite shape? No.
Debo?
No.
Or Patty Mahomes?
No,
this photo on the screen shows you he's not.
He's not in elite shape currently. But again, it's July. And again, I'm just going to say this because my take on Stephon Diggs was, hey, your ass shouldn't be on a boat with a pink substance in the hose. You should be in the gym working out. That's what you should be doing.
Debo doesn't even look fat.
I don't know. He's a little round, dude. He's a little round for an NFL player, bro.
I wish I was a little round like he's round.
Dude.
I don't know. I think we're going a bit hard on Patrick Mahomes.
I would agree.
I think, and I'm kind of tired of hearing the people preaching about, oh, he owes it to his legacy. Well, that's not for you to say.
It's his legacy.
I don't think he's fat. I could be wrong. Willie says Sonny Jurgensen rolled his fat ass into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He did. I would take that level of fat. Me too. Woodward says no one works out like Kyler Murray. No.
Dude.
No.
I mean, you're not wrong, bro. You are not wrong.
Pick it up.
You're such a
Look
jerk.
Look at that. See, if you're never out of shape, you're never out of shape. Boom. Ass to grass.
Come on.
And this is while little baby Kyler was rehabbing the knee.
Up.
Slam that ass down.
3. Go. Up.
Drop it like it's hot.
4.
I mean, that's impressive.
Dude.
That's impressive, right? I mean,
look at him slam that ass down.
Hey, ass to grass, dude. Ass.
Hot ass.
Ass to grass. I don't know. I just think we've gone too far with the fat thing. I just, the guy needs to get on the field and play the game. And I think he will, and I think he will be fine. I just don't see why like you got on the radio and you said this guy was fat, out of shape, and no longer motivated. Because you saw one picture on a boat where it was a side shot and he looked like Fat Willie.
Yeah,
like
he looks a little tubby there.
He does not look tubby.
There's a little, I mean, again, I would love to look like that, but I'm not an NFL player.
Yeah, I don't think he looks tubby at all. I think he's got that summer body on, I guess.
But again, it needs to be said, and this is a problem with this take. That's precisely it. It's the off season. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, really, it's fine.
Yeah, I guess.
Especially when you're a 3-time Super Bowl champion. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. I think we're making so much out of this. And it's, yeah.
And I do think it's a foolish take to say, because this was also part of dude's, Kevy's take in Kansas City, that Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, was never seen out of shape. Okay, well, that's great for Tom, right? Tom wanted to play for his entire life if you'd let him. Maybe that's not what Pat wants.
And Tommy doesn't like beer and chocolate.
Yeah. And he doesn't like, Taekwondo rolling class either. But
apparently not. Tommy was also seen on a boat with a bunch of hot chicks this weekend. So do you, Tommy. Mahomes needs some bucked up. Promo code Monty.
Yeah.
20% off. Buckedup.com. Promo code Monty. Travis says rip to the Pillsbury throw boy. Wow. Didn't you guys cover this for an hour earlier? No, we did not.
What are you talking about?
No, we did not. River Monster legend. Yeah, Jared Lorenzen was a stud who just couldn't get control of himself. And Donuts also says Patrick has nothing to prove. Yeah, that's my point. If the guy wants to eat his way out of the NFL, knock yourself out. I don't think that's what he did.
And that is his choice. That's a great point. Like if Patrick wants to chase 7 Super Bowls, that's his prerogative. If he wants to win 5 and be done, cool, dude. If you only want a quarterback and be the face of the NFL for another 5 years, great, man. Live it up. Like, again, the guy's $100 millionaire. He does not have to care. It's fine. Like, he is in really good shape. We're sitting here talking. You guys understand?
The guy's made $182 million.
Just on NFL money. That's not even endorsements or anything else.
Or all of his side hustles or paying his brother's attorneys.
That's what I'm saying. This guy's probably half a billionaire at this point. I would not be surprised if he had all kinds of businesses, to your point. But my thing is we want to sit here and roast this guy for having like 3% more body fat while he's enjoying some beer and steak and chicken and whatever on a boat with his wife and her friends, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, let's put this into perspective. This guy grinds his ass off for, I mean, hell, you covered the NFL for how long? I mean, how many hours do you think a quarterback puts in the middle of the season a week? Probably 60 at least.
They're doing 10s every single day at a minimum.
I mean,
you're putting it. Yeah, you get one day off. It's a 24/7 job.
He's literally working out every day in the season. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't. The guy owns. What does the guy own? He owns the Kansas City Royals, Oakley, Hy-Vee, Essentia Water, DirecTV, State Farm, Adidas, Head and Shoulders, Hellsberg's Diamonds, Madden NFL 20, and Madden NFL 22 with Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro.
Like,
and notice nobody was calling him a fat ass when he was playing on one leg in the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. So, but Monty, suck it, Notre Dame. Okay.
Hey, way to live the brand, dude.
You guys are in great shape. Fight on. Great shape. Wasikowski says, taking that Super Bowl loss really hard. Apparently. That's what.
Stay hard.
Okay. It gets a little weird to be focusing on another dude's body this much. That's what you're a radio host in Kansas City. And again, if you guys are just tuning in, a radio host in Kansas City attacked Patrick Mahomes and said, you're fat, you're unmotivated, you're checked, like you've lost the drive. And I just don't know that you can say that. I just don't.
And by the way, can I just point out, how hard would it be to retread a hey, how good are the Chiefs going to be this year topic?
Not difficult.
Like, how hard would it be to talk about, I don't know, the fact that Kansas City as a city finally figured out how to keep the Chiefs on their side of the line?
Or how
like,
difficult would it be not to talk about Bill Belichick's girlfriend at North Carolina?
Very difficult.
You guys.
Dude.
Look at these.
Bro.
Bubba Cunningham got an email that said, quote, Jordan Hudson has no business getting involved with Belichick's work-related business at Chapel Thrill. Unless she's on your payroll, it's bad enough the nepotism you allowed by also hiring Bella Sucks kid. Another UNC grad wrote, quote, Bill Belichick is a disgrace to our university. Please do something. Oh, that's not enough, you say? When you agreed to pay a king's ransom to hire Belichick, did you also know that you were hiring Jordan Hudson to serve as the primary face of UNC athletics?
Dude.
A faculty member wrote to Bubba,
Bro.
quote, normally I would say the university should not concern itself with its employees' personal lives, but when a prominent employee injects
Anita Dick and Ming,
his significant other into university affairs, it becomes the university's concern.
Agreed.
She's already an embarrassment, and it's only going to get worse. Please end this circus before the season begins.
Agreed.
So you're telling me like the crock pot was whistling when Jordan Hudson was screwing Bill Belichick on CBS.
Anita Dick and
Yeah,
Ming.
put up the Nips picture, dude. When the Nips picture came out, and you know, when Jordan thought it would be a good idea to put Buddy here on national TV in a ripped up hoodie, and then, you know, try to control the 60 Minutes interview and the Good Morning America interview or whatever. Like, come on, dude. It is embarrassing. It is not how it should be. Like, it is the worst of the worst, in my opinion, in terms of people ops. Like, this is not good.
Is this a huge deal? Is this like fire belly checky hoodie guy thing? We're not firing Bill Belichick over this.
I think at one point for a few days, people were really pissed about this and said, hey, it's her or the football program.
You really believe that?
I believe that. Yes. I think donors and people that
it's
supported
her or the football program.
Get her ass out of the football program and back at the crib where she can figure out what houses she wants you to buy for her, and then you can focus on football.
Wow. You still are hung up on the fact that he's got nipples and so does she.
Yep.
You're really really that upset about the real estate thing.
It is unprofessional. The real estate thing's not unprofessional.
Why do you care so much about it, though?
Because it speaks to their, you know, their commingling, if you will. Like you and I have always kind of disagreed on this, but I think when you look at this whole situation, it's pretty clear that she's got a strong grip on him as a dude. Like, whether you know, whether it's her involvement in his PR, her walking around the UNC football field, which is just absolutely outrageous to me. You know,
why is that outrageous
because, dude,
to you?
It would be like you taking your wife or me taking my girlfriend.
But it's a spring game. Who cares?
Dude, it doesn't matter what game it is, man. It's a professional setting, bro. Like, cool. Have her in the stands.
Did she kick your dog?
I just can't believe you defend this.
And
you're just like,
no,
it's
I don't
incredible.
defend it. I'm not at the nuclear level where we've got to fire people and Bill Belichick's got to go.
It's his first college job in what? What did he have one back in the day, if memory serves or whatever?
It's his first college job.
It's his real first college job. The guy is not an amateur at coaching a football team. He's an amateur at dealing at politics at the college level. And this is just not a good look. It's not. You should not have her all up in the college football program's business in your first season. You haven't even played a game yet, and you think it's okay to run her around the field and do all, like, it's just not, that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah, I feel like this is a lot for some dude's side piece. And now maybe she's probably more than his side piece. They're probably much more serious. And I totally get that. And I understand why people care more but it's not like this is his wife. You know, it's not like
It would be better if it was his wife.
It would be better if it was his wife.
Yes, it would. If it was his wife, then at least you could say, yeah, that's his wife, dude. It's Bill Belichick. That's his wife.
It's not football season, though. If this was week 7 and they're necking on the field, okay, that's a problem. If she was doing interviews during the season, that's a problem. It was June. It was May.
But what's the difference? He's unproven.
Well, and it's a distraction.
It's a distraction. And I want to specify that because I want to be fair. It's not a distraction for Bill, in my opinion. Like, I think he can handle it fine. I'm not saying that Bill Belichick is incapable of having her running around while also running a top tier, D1, power practice. I'm not saying he's distracted. What I'm saying is that it is not a good look for UNC that the coach they hired, this legendary NFL coach, by most people's standards, the best coach we've had in our lifetime.
Yep.
To have his whatever she is running around the field and distracting players, and most notably, because I think this is the part that people are actually pissed about, really just bringing negative attention. If this was a thing where she was positive and it was like a social media sensation thing and like there was a bunch of positive PR around it, nobody would say 2 words. Nobody would cry about it. Nobody would be pissed about it. You wouldn't be getting emails where they're calling him an embarrassment and whatever they called him. But that's not the case. And I think that's the hard part is like, it's like, dude, if you're going to come in here and you're going to do this, it better be a positive thing, especially when you haven't won a game for the university yet, especially in a time, because I also think this matters, in a time when the ACC needs to be getting more teams into the CFP. And UNC is not a powerhouse football program. Like, come on.
Yeah. I can't argue with any of that.
So I'm not saying dude should be fired. I would not fire
But again,
him.
what's the motivation?
Anita Dick and Ming.
We know why Bill's here.
Yes, we do.
Right?
Yes, we do.
We have more ice nipple drama. How can we say it's a slow sports news day? I don't think it's a slow sports news day. And anytime we can get Billy with the headlights on, I don't know. I don't know why we wouldn't.
It's a good day.
Right? I mean, I said Billy with the headlights on.
The nips.
Billy with the
the glass cutters.
Mike Smith, LOL, James, you are the best. What did James say? Oh, be right back. Well, thank God thanks for sharing. I agree. Bill was sucking it all in as well. Yikes. Well, I'm sure he was. If UNC starts out 6-0, everyone will be praising her as much as Bill. Well,
No, I think what everyone will be saying is everyone will speculate. The talking head shows will speculate, hey, if he hadn't started 6-0, what would have happened? That's what people will ask.
That's who we are.
That's who we are.
That's who we are.
Yeah, that's who we are.
Breaking news. Saw it. See, you got me. Too bad, Monty. I'm sitting here at the top of Gun Bar in San Diego waiting for Tom Cruise to ride in.
Yeah, dude.
Love me some San Diego. Speaking of fat dudes, here I am.
Yeah, bro.
Is this why Mrs. Monty's not on the show because she's an alpha and would take over? No, she is currently not alphaing at the corporate job. We got to have a talk about corporate jobs and moving and quality of life. We had some interesting conversations over the weekend. She got nice glam shots, though. She does.
No kidding.
She does. I mean, listen, there is no question that my lady is beautiful.
Yeah, notice she took full advantage of that, that Jordan discount.
I mean, Jordan Hudson is beautiful. There is no question about that. I mean, I just don't know. Yeah. This is the one from the Daily Mail that just pisses everybody off. Like mid-drifting a crop top with the North Carolina logo on it when you're not Bill Belichick's wife. is probably not your best look.
No.
Right? Like, I just don't.
No,
I don't.
It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Some low hangers. I don't even. What do you mean? You know, if it was UNC cheerleader, would it be an issue? Yeah, it'd be a bigger issue.
Yes, it'd be a bigger issue.
Huge. For real though, UNC has to wrap it up before the season.
So see what he did there? That's a Jimmy Hat reference.
I have to play a little game called Just a Tip.
See, it's like wrap it up, and it kind of all works together, and it's Jordan Hudson and Bill and the hoodie and all that. You know. Yeah. You know.
Why do I read comments off of Twitter?
Oh God. Wow. Why don't you guys just stick to sports, Monty?
Cam on Twitter says, "Can you stop showing Bill's nipples? It feels immature."
What?
Are you new to the
What?
Cam?
What?
Cam.
Monty?
Breaking news, Cam. This show is never mature.
Yeah.
Okay? Never. We take the low road.
Dude, we're talking about S&C coaches and Bill's nips, okay? Just deal with it.
Look, I mean, check out those glass cutters, bro. Like, what do you mean? Can we?
Like, that
feels
is
immature?
Bill Belichick, bro.
This feels immature. What show have you been watching? Bro, are you out of your mind? We have raccoons smoking meth.
Yeah.
On this show.
Yeah, bro.
Right? Then this is the look I'm giving you right now, whether you know it or not. Right? And this is the look Jake's giving you right now.
Dude.
But
Bro.
we have not even begun to be immature on this show. This is, again, if you can't handle nip slips, this is the wrong show for you. That's exactly
I guess.
right. Breaking news, this is a glass cutter show. Yes, it is. Like, are you new? Fight on. Now we know what 100 million will buy you, apparently. Anyway, I thought it was interesting that the emails were so harsh.
Yeah, there's vitriol in those emails.
So harsh.
They are bitter.
So pissed off. Now, it's not as pissed off as I am because Jake has not turned the Cubs game on yet.
Well, see, again, though, here's the problem.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Or at least turn the Yankee game on.
Yeah,
because Chaboy has got Aaron Judge.
Dude, you're not here for NBA Summer League? Come on, dude.
Let me just throw this out there. DeAndre Ayton can't catch the ball. And you think signing him to the Lakers was the right thing to do?
Monty. Dude, he was the only guy left. Come on.
DeAndre Ayton. Before we get to the Epstein thing.
Right.
Because I'm sure we're going to lose half the room on it. DeAndre Ayton, who I said the day he got drafted is a bust.
You remember when they drafted him number 1 overall?
We were at the shitty radio station in Phoenix when they drafted DeAndre Ayton.
And everybody was knee padding the selection like it was going to save the organization.
Played at Arizona, and what did I tell you? He can't catch the ball. Can't catch the ball. If you look at DeAndre Ayton, his biggest issue is he's a basketball player. And as good old Ron Sapocek, my coach in high school, used to say, "Hey, Dick, if you can't catch the ball, you're fat."
Facts.
My old high school coach used to say, "If you can catch the ball, I can find a place on the floor for you." DeAndre Ayton can't catch the ball, which is why he flamed in Phoenix. He was an absolute terrible move by Portland. And so now the Lakers think under the brightest spotlight in the NBA that they're going to be able to fix that?
Come on.
I mean, I'll never understand it. But Monty Show, the raccoon opening the dumpster.
Well,
I am not going to subject myself to these daily requests for videos.
Oh, fucking God.
I'm telling you, it does not beat.
Come here.
Hello?
The raccoon has her meth pipe.
As what?
Oh my God.
Her meth pipe. He's playing with the meth pipe right now. No, don't reach for it. That's evidence now.
Oh, I don't want him to have that.
That's why I'm going to do it.
I don't want him to have that when I can have that.
Come on.
I want the residue. Bro, like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Nothing good.
Raccoons in this country, bless them. The raccoon never gets old. No, it doesn't. What are your opinions on the outgoing Mountain West schools going nuclear on Grand Canyon, joining the Mountain West immediately? They're pissed because it's good for the Mountain West. And I would also point out it makes it more difficult to get into the NCAA tournament. If you guys didn't hear, the Mountain West had a good day today. They were able to add Grand Canyon to the conference immediately, starting in the 2025-26 basketball season right now. And for those of you who don't know, Grand Canyon GCU is a really good basketball program. They win games. They go to the NCAA tournament. And the current members of the Mountain West are not happy about it.
Well, now, why wouldn't they be happy about that? Why wouldn't they be happy about that? Oh, I know why. Maybe because you've been spending out of your ass for like a year on these legal fees, and the Mountain West just added a school that can get them paid. Like more shares, more postseason appearances. You're getting paid. Like, it's not hard to understand.
Yeah.
So listen, you can be upset about it, but I'm not certainly feeling bad for you guys. You guys are the ones that decided to leave the league you were in, where you were just fine, making plenty of money, and go to this upstart, wannabe conference and try to be the cool kids on the block. And now you're pissed at you're basically pissed that your ex is adding value. Get out of here, dude.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, get the hell out of here, man. Like go be upset, go be a barking dog, go live up to the Pac-12 brand. And if you want to spend more money on lawsuits, great, good for you. But the Mountain West is just going to keep trying to move forward the best it can.
And I love all the Pac-12 fans who are like, oh, you just weaken your conference. Okay, then you don't know anything about basketball.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
If your take is that adding Grand Canyon to the Mountain West makes it a lesser basketball conference, you are out of your mind. What my feeling is there's not a team in the Mountain West who wants to go play in Lopes Arena. There's not a fan that wants to go to Phoenix and have to play in that building, because it's going to be raucous now. It is going to be absolutely raucous. And I don't know how you go there and win if you're Boise, if you're Utah State, that's a GCU's home gym is.
Dude, it was insane before they were good. And now that they're good, it's even more insane.
It's one of the most difficult places to play. And so Pac-12 teams melting down, I'd be pissed too. My schedule just got exponentially more difficult. And my margin for error to make the NCAA tournament, because that's probably going to be a 5-bid league at least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would think. And then next year you go into the Pac-12 and you've got to beat teams like Gonzaga, which makes it more difficult. So I think it's going to be very difficult to digest if you are the Boise States and the Colorado States and the rest of the teams in this league. San Diego State. Why would San Diego State want GCU in the Mountain West this year?
Yeah, I just think it's rich that these schools are complaining about the Mountain West adding schools after they tried to pipe the Mountain West. That's what I think is really rich.
Yeah. So as you guys hit the like button, give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. On the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com. If you have been in an accident, I told this story to start the show. I was in an Uber the other day talking to an Uber driver who said, yeah, my daughter got attacked. My 8-year-old daughter was playing in the front yard, and out of nowhere, my neighbor's dog got loose out of the gate and attacked my daughter, and apparently did the whole latched onto her arm, bit all the way through the arm, and the daughter was traumatized and screaming and trying to pull away, and it took forever to get the dog off the arm, like the whole traumatic thing, to the point where now this Uber driver was telling me we had to put our own dog outside because my daughter is so scared of dogs now. And I was like, well, did you call a lawyer? She said, well, no, why? And I said, because you're entitled to compensation for that. Well, what do you mean? I said, well, your daughter's now traumatized, not to mention the physical injuries. They spent a day and a half in the emergency room in the hospital, and they were trying to find out if this dog had rabies. They finally were able to catch the dog before the girl had to take the rabies shots. But you're going through this whole process where your daughter's traumatized. She's got a significant injury to her arm. You had to miss 2 days of driving Uber because the dad is a construction worker. The mom drives Uber. Like, you're trying to figure all this out. You're missing income. Your daughter's traumatized. You have hospital bills from that. You deserve to be compensated for that. That was not your fault that your daughter was outside playing and the neighbor couldn't keep its dog locked up and the dog got out and attacked your daughter. Call a lawyer. Call the advocates. Get clear, risk-free advice, and you never have to reach in your pocket. I also said to this gal, hey, it does not cost. She said, well, I can't afford an attorney. It doesn't cost you any money. Literally, you never pay the advocates out of pocket. And that's the truth. It's not your fault. You didn't deserve to have that dog attack your daughter. You do deserve an advocate, somebody who's experienced, who's been through these cases, who knows how to fight for what you deserve. That's why you go to the advocates. Clear, risk-free advice. Talk to an injury attorney live online, 24/7, 365. It won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. All right. Let's get a couple more comments in here. Oak State James, 8 and average, 14 points and 10 rebounds last year. He doesn't need to be a superstar, just an average, a double-double, and get the ball when LeBron misses. That's not the point, though. They actually don't even need him to be a double-double guy. They need him to rebound, and they need him to play defense. But what's the problem? He's soft defensively. And the issue that the Suns are the best example because they were in the finals. He does not catch the ball in traffic, so he has trouble finishing around the rim.
And he doesn't want to beat your ass on defense.
No, he does not. He's not a shot blocker. He's not even his biggest struggle is he does not focus. So he struggles with staying focused defensively, so he loses his guy a lot. And the Lakers have really struggled to defend the post, and they need him to do that. I think it's a horrible decision. I would have tried to find any other guy.
I don't have any faith that he'll change, but if there was one formula that could make him change, it might be playing with LeBron. Because guys should go and play with LeBron. It's LeBron's way or the highway. So you're either going to fall in line and do what you're supposed to do, or you're not going to play. Well,
and those guys generally raise the bar.
Yeah.
LeBron generally brings the best out in the guys who go and play there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We'll see. All right. I appreciate that comment. Jimmy Hat Travis says.
Yeah.
Stay hard.
Okay.
Yeah, bro.
Okay. I went all Aaron Rodgers over the weekend and came out of the darkness, saw the Clippers made moves. You went all Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, just quick question.
Yeah.
Hey,
why did you have to light the fuse, Joey?
Hey, bro. How many LA teams are the Jazz going to make better? I mean, just asking for a friend.
Why?
The Lakers, the Clippers. Come on, bro.
The Sparks.
LAFC.
LAFC.
Like, come on, dude. Like, good Lord.
The Jazz, in a larger trade, made a deal to send John Collins to the LA Clippers. They received Kevin Love and a massive, whopping
Stay hard.
$26.6 million trade exception. Now, here's what I ask. Is there anybody who believes the Jazz will do something with the money that they now have? Because that's a place where you could go and trade for stars. Or do you just take back another dead contract? Bail somebody out and use the cap space next year? Because I think we all know Ryan Smith isn't spending money on free agency or big time trades.
Well, and what did they do? You bought out Kevin Love. So Kevin Love is going to be...
Is that official yet?
I
don't
check.
think it. They're going to buy out Kevin Love.
They're going to buy out Kevin Love. and there's already odds on his next destination. And so maybe it's not official yet, but they're going to buy him out. And, you know, you're essentially doing the, hey, we're going to take old head's contract, buy him out, let him go play for a contender so we can get a pick and not spend money. That's just what it is. And in that process, we're going to help an LA team. This is like the 4th or 5th time they've done this now. And I don't know, man. I agree. Jazz fans were pretty pissed about it. And I certainly agree with the point that this uniquely positions them to feature Lauri Markkanen so then they can trade him at the deadline. I don't disagree with that at all. Now, will that happen? I don't know. It depends, how much of a hard ass they want to be at the deadline. But
I really hope that does not happen.
I hope it doesn't happen either, but there's no question that he's the best player on the team, and he's playing with a bunch of dudes that are rookies and second-year guys, Like, everyone freaked out that Ace Bailey scored like 10 points in his debut and then bounced back with, I think it was like 18 points or whatever it was. Like, the kid, again, he's just like any other rookie. I love his body, love his size, but he needs time. And, I just wouldn't be judging him on his first 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is very difficult for me to get excited about anything the Jazz are doing. Very difficult.
To say I wasn't surprised, though, is spot on. I wasn't surprised. It's what the Jazz do.
It is what the Jazz do. I guess the only lottery legal in Utah is the NBA lottery, apparently. Detroit has weak GMs who don't like to spend money in basketball and hockey. Lauri and the Greek are great fits. Well, I think Lauri Markkanen's a great fit in a lot of places.
Certainly.
I mean, Lauri has shown you now that he is flexible. He is willing to evolve. He can be coached. I mean, Lauri Markkanen is a very good performer. And it's really unfortunate that, the Jazz wasted so many assets. I'm really surprised they traded John Collins and got what they got for him. The Jordan Clarkson buyout, you figure it out. It is one of the worst financial moves we have seen in some time. But if you look at the totality of what they did in that timeline, I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but I am.
Yeah.
But whatever. All right, let's get into Jeffrey Epstein. So you're convinced no Merkage of his own doing?
No, I don't think he committed suicide. I don't. I think he knew too many people. I think that he had, the fear of him talking. Like, I obviously don't know Jeffrey Epstein personally. Would be hard for me to speak to his personality and all of that. What I do know is that him and Donnie were close, had a relationship for about a decade by most people's reports, by most documentation. That's what we know based on video and all that. Okay.
Do you believe that there's a client list?
Yes, I believe he has a list of some kind. I think there's a book or some type of documentation that he kept. And the reason I believe that there is a list is because of the size of the operation. Meaning, hey, you knew so many people. You were, helping's the wrong word, but like working with so many people that you had to keep a log of some kind. Like, it's just the guy was so intertwined
he was deep in it. There's no doubt about that.
The Hollywood scene, Donnie's scene, all of that stuff, that I just think that there was no way for him to reasonably keep it all straight without a black book of sorts, if you will. Whether that's a list or however he chose to keep it. Yes, I do think that there was a list. I also think that this, and again, I'm not really here for the whole, hey, you're conservative, liberal. I'm not here for all that crap.
Nah,
today.
It almost doesn't matter.
I think that no matter the party of the administration, this whole Pam Bondi situation, where several months ago she said, and many Republicans said, hey, she's got it on her desk. It's all coming out. We're going to release everything. We're doing this. And now all of a sudden you've got Caroline Leavitt and Pam and Donnie and everybody except for Elon basically saying that, hey, well, what she inferred, what she meant to say, what she was trying to say was she had the file on her desk, not that she had the client list.
Well, she said, and I want to make sure I get on February 27th, Pam Bondi said the release of documents would include flight logs and a lot of names. Epstein, on the Epstein client list, she used the word client list, had been declassified.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we come back to this conversation of, well, then what happened? For now, the explanation to be there were no flight logs and there was no client list.
She misspoke.
I don't know. That's just patently false.
That's a lie.
And now there was no defective camera at the detention center. And he clearly offed himself. And we're just moving about our business. And then when the president was asked about it today, are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Well, yeah, because the story changed so dramatically. And naturally, the inference is, well, certain folks that don't want you to know were on those flight logs in the client list.
Mm-hmm.
And now none of that information is being released.
And those same folks happen to be the same folks that are benefiting from a lot of the legislation and a lot of the happenings.
Yeah.
So the problem is, getting away from the factual side of it, the problem is that perception is reality with this situation. And whether you're on, the side of there is a list, because I'm definitely team, there is absolutely a list. I think there is absolutely a video of him being offed. And I do think that there is a whole bunch of stuff that's being hidden here. That's my opinion based on how the behavior of people and how this is all going down. This is classic. Hey, we campaigned on one thing, and I'm speculating that maybe Donnie wasn't as educated on that list as he thought he was, or something in that conversation changed for the administration. Whether that was who was on the list, whether that was damage control, I don't know. But something drastically changed
Dramatically.
to where now you're saying that, Pam Bondi, just was inferring she had the file on her desk. And if you watch the briefing today, and then if you watch the press availability where it's Pam and Donnie and his cabinet, they're clearly doing damage control. And so I just think it's hard to get away from it. I think I think, what the real problem is it's not just Democrats or that side talking about it. There is a whole wave of conservative talking heads talking about this and criticizing the administration for not being transparent, because that was one of the fundamentals you ran on. Hey, we're draining the swamp. Doge, we're going to put everything out there. The American people deserve to know. And now you're doing exactly what every administration does.
Yep.
So you don't get the free pass by all your social media influencers because they can't afford to give you the free pass now. You've put them in a no-win situation. So, yeah, I do think you're covering it up. No, I don't think he killed himself. And yes, I do think he knew a lot of people who didn't want their name to come out, just as you said. Hey, my name's on the list. I don't want it to come out. Hey, Pam, can you lie for me? That's in which gave birth to, hey, I'm Elon Musk. I'm going to try to grab attention by starting a new party. That's all this is. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I wonder how you fix it. And I don't know how you fix it. I don't know if there is fixing it. I agree. We have a lot of issues in this country. Is the Jeffrey Epstein client list high on the list? I think for a lot of people it is, because it was such a big talking point for the right for how many years. And, Biden got blamed and he was covering it up. And well, now you can't blame Biden, but yet you're not going to release it.
Yeah, I mean, this is
I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, to me, this is Trump's Biden laptop. This is hey, this happened. You're covering it up, and no one's gonna you're gonna hear about it almost every day for however long until.
And I think every president has one of those.
Yes.
I couldn't tell you what the Obama one was, but I think it is. I think every president has one of these time bombs whether it is Hunter Biden's laptop, whether it is the Epstein list for President Trump or whatever, every president's got one. And I just don't understand why people don't meet this stuff head on. These are not secrets. They're well known. Everybody is aware of it, but yet they wind up falling in the jackpot. And this Epstein thing, I don't think is going to go anywhere for a long time because I think people are legitimately upset about it.
Yeah. And I think that, when you talk about fixing it, I don't think this administration tries to fix things. I think if you look at their behavior and how they handle things, they don't fix things. They move the media onto the next thing. So,
President Trump doesn't necessarily have to worry about it. I mean, he's done in 2 years, right? It makes it so that, like sunsetting the no tax on tip, that's not no tax on tips in overtime. When does that expire? It expires in 2028 when he's out of office. When does his tax break expire? Well, it never expires. So this is what you're allowed to do as a president. You set this stuff up. And I think that's what makes it hard when you pass policy the way they've passed policy, and now you're not willing to release the Epstein files. I think that's very difficult.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult. And I don't know how you fix it because he cannot have that come out.
And I think the hard part was like watching him try to answer the questions about it, only to try to parlay that into other topics. Like a lot of people made a big deal about what he said about Putin and like, hey, Putin's nice all the time, but he's not, his actions don't back it up. And people are, like there was a bunch of, because I intentionally follow like every side of like every portion of the spectrum, right? Like I want to see like, hey, well, what are these folks saying? What are these people saying? And basically everybody was saying, hey, this is a bad look because you ran on transparency and now there's no transparency.
Well, and now today you're funding Ukraine.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
This is, and here's where I wonder, when does the MAGA support erode? Because here you are, now you're sending weapons to Ukraine. And
defensive weapons.
And you said that you were going to end that war within 24 hours of being in office. Well, it didn't happen. And now you don't have this hammer over Ukraine the way you thought you did when you tried to humiliate Zelensky in the Oval Office. And you said you were never going to supply them with weapons and cash because we have to worry about depleting our own military. Well, now what are you doing? Like you just keep flip-flopping.
Mm-hmm.
The no tax on tip things speaks right to the heart of his not billionaire followers who voted for him, because that's not a no tax on tip. Now you're funding Ukraine. Now there's no Epstein list. It's just this whole thing. Like it's the veterans thing. You fired all these people at the VA and the lines now are back to really bad levels. This flooding in Texas, where you fired all these meteorologists and all these forecasters and the experts who look at this stuff. And now Greg Abbott in Texas is like, oh, well, we need help from FEMA and the federal government. But you said the federal government wasn't doing FEMA anymore and we're not giving money to states.
Yeah, what do you mean, dude?
And that if states can't handle disasters, maybe those governors shouldn't be governors. But now it's Texas, and now Texas doesn't want to talk about these. I think it's fun. You have a flood, and all these people are like, oh, well, were we cloud seeding? There's like, bro, they have a flood. Somebody's got to help these people.
Yeah.
But now the federal government doesn't do it because they don't have FEMA, and Texas doesn't have money. They say they need federal help, but it's a state, like, it's just all this crazy stuff. And there's nothing being done for, there's nothing being done for the average American. And we have hundreds of people that just don't exist in the weather service and the forecast industry in Texas anymore. And the forecast very clearly was wrong. And now what is the Trump administration saying? Well, I mean, it wasn't that we fired anybody. We're trying to fix the dysfunction. That's why we fired all those people, because like blaming what happened in Texas on Joe Biden is remarkable. Like that troll that's a thing I didn't think we could ever do.
Well, I'm just curious,
Joe
why does
Biden,
he get tired? You know,
Joe Biden's way out of office, and now it's his fault that people died. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people died in a flood in Central Texas because you fired the forecasters. Like at some point, it's going to come around.
At some point, that everything is Joe Biden's fault gets tired.
But this is why we have FEMA and we have a federal government to help states. The people in Central Texas don't give a rat's ass about FEMA. What they care about is finding their kids alive, or in this case, dead, so that they can bury them and they can heal as much as they're going to heal. But we're not doing that because we're arguing about FEMA that doesn't exist, who funds but doesn't fund, and cloud seeding, where we're not helping these poor people had no notice that I think it was 26 minutes it took for this flood to hit Central Texas and decimate a region and just absolutely kill hundreds of Texans and a multitude of children.
It's awful.
And we're arguing over where are the forecasters and how are we going to pay for this? That's the problem. We forgot that we're supposed to help people. We're all Americans. And this goes back to what you said and what I've always said. There's no Democrat or Republican. We're just Americans. And we need the federal government needs to help Central Texas. I don't know that it will. I don't know that it will. We're so wrapped up in who's wrong and who's right and who's to blame. We've got dead kids and dead Americans, and we're not doing anything to help them or their families. Do you know the recovery effort it's going to take? Do you know how difficult it's going to be to rebuild Texas? Do you understand that summer camp is transformational for how many hundreds of thousands of kids in this country every year? Do you know how many kids won't go to summer camp now out of fear? Because
really rough,
we're
dude.
trying to figure out if we were cloud seeding and if we like who's at fault for the bad forecast. That's the problem. That's the problem. I just I don't know how you fix it. And we start looking at all of this different stuff and we start trying to figure out how we're going to fix stuff. I just want the people of Central Texas to begin to move forward. The population in Central Texas deserves the chance to move forward. So
yeah, and they deserve an accurate forecast.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Eric says last week World War III was going to start according to Monty. No. What we talked about last week, and this is what blind supporters of Donald Trump do. They keep moving the ball because they don't want you to stick on a story.
Yeah.
Right? The Epstein list, oh, well, we absolutely decimated Iran. You didn't. And nobody says you did except you. Netanyahu, like this video, this clearly AI video of the Netanyahus arriving at the White House. They arrived at night. They're putting out videos of them arriving during the day. We keep moving the ball. The Epstein list is back now. Now it's Central Texas, and the president says today at a meeting, well, are we really talking about Epstein? Yeah, people are. People want to know. You ran on that. You ran on not changing Medicare and not changing Medicaid. There's I can't remember. I think Drudge put out a video, a running loop of the 137 times that the vice president and the president said we're not touching Medicaid or Medicare in the election cycle. I think it's 137 times between Trump and Vance where they said we're not touching Medicare or Medicaid. So you can keep pretending that we're talking about making stuff up, or nothing we've said has been inaccurate.
Nope.
People are really upset about this stuff in Central Texas because it could happen anywhere. What happens during hurricane season in Florida? What happens?
People die. That's what happens.
Florida doesn't have the money to to take care of themselves. But that's why we have a government. That's why we have a federal government.
That's why we use tax dollars.
A federal government to help the people. And it's not doing it. And I'm telling you, you can joke about cloud seeding. I don't give a rat's ass if they were cloud seeding. I'm worried about the people, the Americans in Central Texas that are devastated by this. I fear we're early in the hurricane season. What happens on the Atlantic, the seaboard in the Gulf Coast, that's what I'm worried about, because people are going to die, because our forecasts are not going to be as accurate as they should be. The warning from such is not going to be as accurate as it should be. People will die because people don't have the money to just up and move, right? You're talking about some very poor communities along the Gulf Coast. That's what's scary. Like
Noah is saying 60% chance for an above normal hurricane season, which would include 17 total storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 Category 3+ hurricanes.
But we want to argue about cloud seeding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Kids are dead. Let's go figure it out. Right? Remember when we used to have like caravans of people that would go, just average Americans that would just go and jump in their truck, and
it would drive like 15 hours to go help people.
When I was in Sacramento, I want to say it was fire in Texas. There was some major disaster in Texas. I can't remember what it was. And we filled up a semi truck full of bottled water. This was probably 2005. Something like that. We filled up a semi truck full of water in Sacramento. And a guy volunteered as much bottled water as we could bring to that semi truck. He'd drive it to Texas. And we filled that thing up and he drove it to Texas. Because that's who we are. We're Americans. We support each other. When there's fire, when there's wildfires, firefighters from across the country come to that wildfire. You look at the wildfire in LA last year. Like, that's who we are. Now we have this thing where, and I'm not saying anybody's life is more valuable than another, but we have kids that were sleeping at summer camp whose bodies we need to recover and deliver them to their families. And we're arguing about whether we did cloud seeding or not. Why can't we just handle the issue?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are we doing? But you want to blame Trump and they want to blame Biden, and how about we help the people in Texas? Let's blame people later. Let's go help the people in Texas. That's the thing. Anyway, there you have it. The Monty Show, as always, presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. 24/7, 365. They're available online. You can chat with an injury attorney right now at theadvocates.com. And it won't cost you a dime. No cost to talk to an injury attorney right now. theadvocates.com. Don't forget the video deadline is tomorrow.
Yes, I have James and Maury Alvarez have submitted their videos.
Okay, if you won last week, we'll play your videos on the show tomorrow.
That would be TJ and Lopes Van Gabe, and you know who you are.
Let's go. All right, until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.